All right. Dog, I was just saying, I'm a cloud nine right now. Yeah, man, it's crazy. This is how the sport goes. This is how the
Yep.
sport goes. So my man, so this is like Cathwe is he's a partner in King of List, but he's a silent partner. So people don't know that, but he's actually a partner on King of List. And he was like
Oh, I
Canadian
know.
national champion for like years.
Yeah.
And he was always at Worlds and he's broken world records on the deadlift. And this year he missed Worlds. Nick and Adam went. So to become the number one Canadian lifter, and because our nationals got moved to after Worlds, nationals got moved around next year. So to get next year's Worlds team, they have a bunch of qualifying meets. And whoever's number one in your weight class off these qualifying meets, you're going to make the world's team. And there's a couple there. We'll see what happens. But Cathwe just regained the number one position in the 83s. And he also, like, on good lift points, became the number one male lifter of all time in Canada. Like, it was freaking, it's a crazy performance. Man, it is crazy, man. It is
Yeah.
crazy how it works.
That's
I don't know.
insane. I was gonna say like I remember watching Cafu when I first got into the sport just because he did even like some interviews with you for certain
Right.
lifters and stuff like that. So like I remember watching his lift and always remember watching his deadlift because that was like the his main thing was his deadlift, especially going into like competitions and stuff like that. And yeah, whenever he wasn't there this past year, I was like that was like sad because like that's like a familiar face that I know, and that to see him go through his little arc that he went through and just like his posts and just the animosity and training, like the little glimpses he was showing, just his entire attitude change that happened this past year was like great for me to see, and then for it to like come to fruition and him do the thing, that was yeah, that was legit. That was cool.
It's a relatable story, isn't it? Like we picture these constant appeals, or if you're in a position, and you kind of like to an extent, you might be like feeling like you're eating your food every year. Like he's showing up at Worlds year after year, and people are kind of like last Worlds. People like, oh, like some nations, you make the national team so easy. You're about to find this out. This is a great segue for you, by the way. But some nations, you make the world's team so easy. If you're so far ahead of everyone else, right? And it's like, I'm going to be on the worlds. I'm going to be at worlds continuously. Other nations, it's so competitive. It is so competitive that you can't take these things for granted. And Caffrey was saying last year in South Africa, people were like, "See you next year, see you next year," and they go to Caffrey, "See you next year," and Caffrey was like, "Oh no, I don't have it like that. Like you guys see me every year, but it's a battlefield for me to get there." And people listen to podcasts know who Nick Manders is, the Canadian champ. They know, and like bronze medalist at Worlds. They know like Canada's got Adam as well, and like the 83s. You know, it's stacked in Canada, and it's going to be the same in America. Like you're entering the IPF, and we're going to talk about that. But
Yeah.
the 93s in the IPF or in just powerlifting America in the US, Heiko, who's a legend, yourself, Gavin Eden,
Mhm.
God knows what's going to happen with Chance. I mean, what the frick? Who the hell
Yeah.
knows? But like, it's a battle zone. It's an absolute battle zone, let alone the 83, 74s, like whoever comes over. We can't take anything for granted, man. You know?
No, I was gonna say like coming out of America is just like I don't know. Like sometimes like I do understand when other lifters like they'll say that Worlds is like a different beast or different animal because I started doing research. I started looking at other nations and seeing their routes to like Worlds, and especially being a coach and now coaching different people in different nations and stuff like that. You tend to learn these things as far as like, well, how do they get on their teams? And okay, well, what is the route that they go? Okay, what does the competition look like? And I know now is like, oh, other places, there really isn't any competition. If you are the number one guy, more than likely you're 40 kilos ahead of whoever the number two guy is. And that's why you see the same faces from other nations year after year after year after year after year. But when it comes to America, our nationals itself is a slaughterhouse. Like if you escape that, sometimes I would even say that some American lifters will get to Worlds and be like, okay, I made it out of America. Now I just need to make sure that my standards is on point. But as far as like head-to-head battle and head-to-head competition, they went through the ringer, and now they're like, it's almost like they're seasoned going into Worlds, and that's why they seem a little bit more prepared sometimes in other nations. Is because if you don't bring your A game to our nationals, especially in some weight classes, it's you're done. Like there is no future for you. Like there's no other meet. Like you go to
Mm.
nationals and you sit out a whole nother year and try again, and then you may not even get it that time, and then you spend your whole year being a great lift, or your whole years, 4 or 5 years, being a great, phenomenal lifter that never made it to that next step just because of who else was around you. Um, so yeah, it's definitely it's definitely hard coming out of America, but that's what makes it exciting, though. That's what makes it exciting. That's what makes it fun, and that's why I'm glad that going over, I really want to see how they structure it first before I get too excited. But as long as I get a chance to actually fight for my spot at nationals against the people who I want to go against, then I'm going to be
Mm.
very, very, very happy. I just don't want it to be like last year, to where it was like a weird thing to where all the candidates basically went to Sheffield and they skipped out on nationals, and then it was like just going for Carpino and stuff like that. No, I want everyone to be there. That'd be nice. But it is what it is. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, like there's a couple things I want to unpack there, but because you made a lot of good points. First off, in terms of we'll get into the possible qualifications in a sec, but in terms of you made like good points with going through the slaughterhouse, which is PA Nats is going to become, and like you have, you're going to have world class phenomenal lifters not make it through and not go to worlds, and other nations, they won't have that. Some of, like, I'm sure if you're a woman in France, good luck. If
Yeah,
there's some nations, but your US is by far the thickest. It, but there's a double edge. On the flip side, there's some quality to it. Like you will be battle tested. You 100% in terms of nerves, etc. You will have gone against the best of the best. For you yourself, again, we're not sure how the qualification works, but let's just say if you have to face Gavin, Aiko, and again, God knows what's going to happen to Chance. So that's an interesting
yeah.
thing
He can
right
still
there.
come out of
Chance to
hey,
hold up.
he could still come out of nowhere. I'm not ruling Chance out because I mean for Nats, all you need is one local meet with not that high of a total, and then boom, you could pop up at nationals. There's
Yeah.
no like you don't have to post on social media to go to nationals. So he can go ghost and then just pop up at the meet and just be stronger than ever. So,
I got no clue. This dude, we'll touch on that in a second too, because it's very interesting. However, okay. So in terms of going through that, you were super duper battle tested. Now the 93s have a pretty all-star cast internationally as well that you'll have to deal with, like Gustav and Emil and those guys too, which but it makes it more exciting. It
yeah,
kind of it makes it like, okay, I have these Americans I have to deal with. And then when after that, there's a whole nother cast of villains out there that I gotta clash with, and they're waiting. And they're like, okay, let's rumble. Keiko's had to do it every year where he's like, oh my God, I gotta battle at Nats. And then,
yeah,
oh my God, I gotta battle at Worlds. And it's like, oh, he's calling. And then now Sheffield. Oh my God, you're bringing another 93? Yeah. Yeah, we're bringing in a 90. Another. It's like, frig, man, I can't get away from these battles. But you will be battle tested. And another thing, not only will you be battle tested when you show up at Worlds, so you'll be able to handle that, but if you can make it through the meat grinder that is going to be Nats, the hype around all you have to have, everyone knows what that means. When you show up with USA across the chest, say less.
yeah,
They know that, like, the attention Americans have. It's true. There'll be a lot of Americans that they'll make it once every 3 years. The one lifter will be, okay, I didn't make it this year. Next year I might. Okay, next year I made it. And like, damn it, if I was from another nation, I'd make it all three. However, when you show up and you're following and everything you get is going to be crazy because you're in America. So there is a flip side. It's tougher, but it's bigger. It's more eyeballs. More people care about your national showdown than other nations. Most people don't even watch the other nations in terms of
yeah.
their nationals. you know?
Right.
So there's, it's tough, but it's rewarding. So it's, I don't know.
I would say the toughness is the rewarding part, to be honest. Like I don't even think it's a double-edged sword. I think that it's nothing but pros because I would much rather have the head-to-head battles. That's what makes it feel like a sport.
Mm,
Powerlifting is a sport because of and it's gained traction because of storylines and head-to-head battles. And that's what gives us the motivation to go into the gym every day, especially when it gets hard. It would be kind of tough if I know that kind of no matter what I do, I can show up at nationals, have a subpar performance, and then just win. You know, that motivation is kind of like it may not get you up at 6 o'clock in the morning. It may not make you go back for like that extra set that you miss. It may not get you to doing that last accessory movement or whatever. But the fact that yes, I have to get through this nationals, but then I have to prepare for not the totals that are necessarily already here, but Keiko gets rest, right? So he has a lot of rest finally after his circuit of meets, to where he can start really putting up possibly more numbers. So I'm not trying to beat a 888, not trying to beat a 890, not even trying to beat a 900 kg. It's just trying to get ahead of the game because I see their potential. So I want to beat them for where they're already trying to be and trying to place myself 2 years ahead. Like that's what drives me. Of course, like we
mm.
take whatever totals there on the day, but my training is trying to get to there and not trying to just maintain my standard. It's like, okay, we're all trying to up the standard. So like who's going to get there first? And that's what makes it exciting. If I was the standard by myself and there was no one else really driving or pushing, then like that's boring. Like who does that? Like no fighter is excited to just beat up on people. Like they want that fight. They want someone who can like go toe to toe, someone who can go like all the rounds because that's what drives them. If they're just playing around and beating someone up every single time, one, no one's gonna pay for that either, right?
Right.
So yeah, like I like it. I like it over here.
Yeah. The attention and eyeballs shift if there isn't showdowns. The excitement to it, and also like, I have no doubt a guy like you'll go to the gym whether it's a showdown or not, but the people have come on here and talked about it. I know you and Penn are talking DMs, and you guys both have talked to me about each other, but about like, I like that guy. Like, I don't know how you guys became buddies because you're from different parts of the world, never met, but this is social media. It happens.
That's
It's like a
the
weird
beauty of social
pairing,
media.
right? It's like a weird pairing, but you see each other's story, right? And you guys have both faced adversity, come back, and like, the exact same. You guys both bombed, came back, had phenomenal meets, and like returned to the number one status, and like, and you draw inspiration from each other. But he's also come on here and very similarly said there are times when he'll use opposition, like he would have done the exact same amount of workout in terms of reps, etc.
Right.
But when you're deciding on that RPE range or whatever, and you're like, can I push this? Or if you're going to push too much, you'll be like, it'll even be motivation to stay in the pocket. Like, I cannot overshoot. I can't fuck this up. You just get tighter. It's the whole like, or there'll be times when you feel a little tired and you're going to
No,
show
like
up anyways. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was saying not to cut you off, but I was like, for instance, I literally just had that moment in the gym today because I know what I'm training for. I was in the gym and I was doing my pause squats, and this is like the week two of my blocking. I build up, etc. And usually on my week two, I usually stay between a range of 520 to 540 at the most, as far as for pause squats, as I for reps. And I do that kind of like building up, and I have like a big jump towards my week four, et cetera, et cetera. And today I was in the gym and I went to go grab the green because I was like, at the most I'll take 540. But then I was like, I did 540 like last block. Why is an extra 10 pounds really going to kill me? I was like, look at that yellow. It's like staring at me. So I grabbed that yellow and I threw it on, and I went ahead and just did 550. And the only reason I did that and executed it the way that I did and really flipped the switch is because of what I'm training for. Now, if it was just a regular day in the gym, to work, hey, like as long as I'm doing the work, getting the reps in, hey, my strength is gonna come, it doesn't matter. Then I would have grabbed the green and the black and just, threw it on and just did my work. But I was like, nah, like or pushing. Same thing like when it comes to bench. Like I'm doing these chips. Like I'm like, whatever I'm thinking, you know what? Add another 2.5 or add another 5 kilos on top of it and just make sure that I like execute it to the best of my ability because that's what's going to push me forward. And I like, okay, now that I did that, really recover from the work that you did so that way you're not shooting yourself in the foot. And it's just like those little things are happening because of the competition and because of the environment that I'm in. So it's just little things like that. Like it's a huge difference in training when you have something to actually train for.
If you could, it's a race. It's an arms race. Right to the PA nets. It's an arms race now. And if you could drag your feet in a race, I'm not saying again, like for anyone listening, I'm not saying you're going to skip workouts. I'm not saying you're going to do. We're talking 5 kilos here and there. We're talking the little things you're going to do for recovery, the
Yeah.
little things, the tightness of diet or whatever accessories. All right, you're going to do them, but you probably sleepwalking through some of them, whatever the shit you don't want to do. Like you'll get your job. You'll always get your job done. You'll always push hard enough. You're not going to take the foot totally off the gas. You're always going to be phenomenal, but we're talking the thinnest of margins. We're talking you let off 1% in training and take off 1% of your total, and that'll literally be the difference of winning and losing. It could come down to
Right.
body weight. It could literally come down to body weight. And that's what we're talking. We're just talking the 1%. And the 1% is going to make the difference. It's the inches that are going to make the difference. And stress and pressure is why you're going to give 100% and not 99. I don't think you're going to do any. You are not a slacker. None of these guys are slackers. But 99% won't cut it when it's the 93s of the world and you've seen what they do. And that's what's going to bring something special out of you. And when you train like that, your recovery, your everything, you're going to have a special day. Everyone's like, oh, it's going to be, it's phenomenal things are going to happen. And
Yeah.
it's exciting, man. And that's also why, like, a guy like, several people have come on here, Penny as well, has said he'll come on here and people will use the people he's competing against and remind him. I remember actually Celine the Machine said, I texted my husband and said, not really feeling it today. Tell me something I need to get to why I got to hit this gym today. And he's texted back, I bet you Sam went.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
was like, that do it.
That's it.
That's
That's
it.
all you need.
That's
all.
enough said. I'm going to the gym.
That's all you need. Yeah, because I mean you have to use that. I'll even if I see that Gavin or Keiko or Emil, if any of them are having like some solid training, even Gustav, because Gustav lately has hit like some set and rep PRs that I saw. Like all I need is just one of those, like just one of those posts. I'm like, okay, like I need to step it up. Like even if it was like an incremental PR, or maybe it was on a lift that honestly still may not be quote unquote threatening to me or whatever. It's like, nah, if he's getting even a fraction better, I can't have that. I have to double that no matter what. Or else that's how you fall behind. You cannot think that, oh, that's good, but I mean, he's hit that before, it just moved a little fast. Like, no. The fact that it moves a little faster or he's feeling confident, that the fact that they even feel confident is threatening to me as far as no, I need to step it up and really like put more pressure and just really up my game. And that's what gives me that edge every single day. It's just little things like that. So
Well, there's the thing with Gustav. Everything is so sub max on him. He's so difficult to read. Like when you see him compete, like he's hit like 880, and he's capable. But when you see him in the gym, like some of the weights he's shifting, it's like, how did you get to 880? Like how did this equal up? Like but some people operate like that. It's sub max, quick, snappy, and that's how their central nervous system responds, and they're good and they'll be ready. But sometimes you're looking at it and you're like, man, unless he's not showing some of his heavier stuff, he's a tough one. But you can't take him lightly.
I will never take him lightly. I will say that I can, because I'll say peaking wise, we're similar. So like I'll see some of his sets that he does and I see how he moves it, and I know his leverages. So like he's pretty long. So I haven't seen him in person, but I'm assuming he's tall. Just based
Yes.
on his build and stuff like that from what I see on video. And sometimes we can't display certain strengths as much as like a shorter person can. So it takes us time to build up, right?
Mm.
And that's how it is for me. Like if you looked at my training on a daily basis, people would be like, "Hold on, wait, how did he ever total
You're
895 before?"
you're right.
Or,
You're right, dude.
yeah, the people would be
You
like,
are
"Oh,
similar with that.
they're like, wait, how did he deadlift 821?" Like, hold on. Where did that come from? And then it's like that's just how I peak. Like if I hit PRs in the gym, that's huge. That lets me know that I'm probably gonna hit something pretty nasty come meet day. Like if I'm able to squat 700 in the gym, that's pretty dangerous. As long as like my body weight is low, that's pretty dangerous. And then if I'm able to bench press above 470 or anything like that's pretty dangerous because I get a huge peak off my bench. Like I remember, I think last prep, even going to Carolina Prime Time, I didn't touch over. I don't think I touched over 440 going into that meet, and then I
Mm.
was probably good for 470 something on the day if I went.
Crazy for Benjamin. It's some
Yeah,
people are so different. Some people like need to get real close in the gym, and other people 30 freaking pounds away
yeah,
from like that's a big jump on bench to
yeah.
walk in there being like, yeah, I'll do 30 pounds more, you
Going
know?
into Virginia Pro, I don't think I even hit 440 going into that prep, and then I hit 474 on the platform.
Dude, if you just went by like gym numbers, a guy like Delaney Wallace is hitting like 440. He'd be like, shit, I think I'm gonna give Pitre a run myself. And then if you just go by gym numbers, you'd be totally, and then you see what you put on the platform, be, oh my God. You're right. You and Gustav are kind of similar. That's why a guy like Gustav isn't gonna have catch you sleeping. You'd be
Yeah,
like, no, I
no,
peaked the same.
not at all. No, I
Very nice.
completely understand how he lifts, and I look and see like the total like tonnage that he does in a session as well, and I understand like the effect that that has on the body and where his baseline strength must be if he's able to do that. So like I know like even right now he's stronger than when he was at Worlds. Like currently, based on the lifts that he's been posting, I know that
Yeah.
he's stronger than what he just was. So I'm definitely seeing that he's probably going to put up a pretty nasty total next year. So if he does, just saying it right here, I called it. But I see him putting up a pretty filthy total next year. Uh, Kaiko, I really want to see him healthy. I really do. Like I really want to see him with rest and be healthy. Cause if he could get his squat back, because I still remember when he hit 2K in the gym. I think right after 2019 during like the first shutdowns and stuff, when he was in like his basement gym or something like that, and he was on pound plates. Like he hit 2K in the gym because he hit 700 on squat. If he could get that version of himself back, that's deadly. I mean, he's already deadly. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying like just he's even more
Heavier.
deadly than what he already
Yeah, yeah,
is.
yeah.
Because people twist my words and immediately be like, "Oh, he said." I was like, "Nah, we're not doing that. We're not
Kaiko
doing
doesn't.
that."
Kaiko's pretty chill, man. He ain't taking offense very
Oh
easily.
no, it's not Kaiko. It's the Kaiko fans. You'll be
Well, that's
surprised.
true too.
They
Yeah, that's true
they
too.
flood my
Yeah.
DMs like crazy. I can't say anything. It's they'll take
Really?
my yeah they'll take my words just like and be like, hey, you didn't put enough respect on Kaiko. It's like how much more respect can I put on him? Like whatever.
You're like, I have to compete against them guys. Let me, give me some wiggle room here. Like shit.
Like
But
man, like I'm all like, yeah, I don't know. I love Kaiko. Kaiko's cool. Like, congrats to him, by the way, if he listens. I don't know if he listens, but if you are listening, congrats on getting married, or on proposing.
oh
Happy
yeah,
for you. So
a
good
life
look,
PR as
good
they
look.
say.
Huh?
A life PR as
Yeah, a
they
life
say.
PR. Yeah, big life PR. Gavin's getting strong. I'm glad that he switched to conventional. I'm
Dude,
really
that was
excited.
great. Like what the heck? The thing is, you see the numbers he's doing, and it's like, why were you always conventional? Obviously,
Yeah,
maybe it's just his body evened out differently. I don't know, but it was like, my dude, the deadlift was always the issue, like the smallest of his three. He's got a serviceable deadlift. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, he's got a good dead, but it could be more.
yeah.
And him switching, it's like, oh my gosh. And he's super confident in my DMs. Like, I'm telling you. right? I'm telling you, wait till I get my dead right. The thing is, what's so good with all of you guys. You're all alpha males who are extremely confident and have right to be. You're all like, you're all superhuman. You're all, Gavin had a really good quote leading into 2022 Worlds. He said, I want to find out who's the greatest outlier, who's the most extreme of all outliers.
Yeah.
And that is because we're all outliers. You're all outliers. Who is the most extreme amongst outliers? And that just shows how special all you guys are. We're splitting kilos here. You're so close. You're all special outliers walking, and you're all going to converge from all over the world to one point. And let's use the most extreme of these outliers. In terms of selling, I mean, Gavin's a good salesman, but I was like, damn, that's good, man. And that's what makes it. And you guys are all like a little different. Like Kaiko to Gustav, to you, to Gavin, to Emil from who's like in Bulgaria, to like
Yeah.
everybody from Eastern Europeans to Western Europeans to like the Americans. Everybody's pretty different, man.
Yeah.
It's a good
I will
cast.
I will say I still like want this to be like publicly known just because I've heard the podcast and I hear people talk and don't get me wrong, I feel honored that like we all talk as like an even playing field, but I do want to remind all the 93s and everybody the totals that y'all are comparing are from a guy that weighs significantly less than the rest of y'all. Um, just I can't wait to eat again. I got called, so I just want this to be known. I was called a super lightweight, I think last week. Like a girl randomly was trying to guess my weight class. I'm not gonna say the weight class that she guessed me as,
Oh,
but
dude, you're
it
jacked. What did
it
she say?
it I don't know. And then a guy I haven't seen in 3 years. I saw him today at the barbershop. I haven't seen this guy in 3 years. And he's like, man, like you look skinny. And I was like, oh, I was like, yeah, I can't wait
Really?
to eat.
So
So
okay. Good point. And first off, so I'm the opposite of whoever might be in your DMs. I think you should talk your shit, but I'm that guy, right? Like I don't get why certain people take offense of somebody's confident in themselves and be like, I think I'm gonna win. That's not an insult to other people,
oh
right?
yeah, no,
Not to me.
that's
Not
ridiculous. I
yeah.
don't know, like earlier I was making points like when everyone was on threads. I mean, we're still on there, but it's just like when everyone was like really on there. And I was saying that I would never ever regret, and I'm never ever gonna make certain statements as far as like, oh, I really hope that I could get to Worlds and like it'll just be a great thing if I'm, lucky enough. Like, luck. like, like I'm working my ass off. I'm waking up every day. I'm doing everything that I possibly can to be the best. It would be shitting on myself, and it would be such uh a disappointment in myself if I'm just looking every day like, oh, I'm doing all this hard work for a luck or a maybe or no, like I'm going in telling myself I'm going to do this. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that I'm full of shit or I'm just talking or whatever. It's, hey, I know what I'm physically prepared for, and you have to be physically prepared and mentally prepared for those moments to make them happen. Moments don't happen on accident. You have to force a moment. You have to make a moment. You have to make a movie. Movies aren't just given to you. So if you're thinking in your head, oh, well, I'm just going out there and it's a gamble and whatever, if that's what you think, then it is going to be a gamble and you're probably going to lose and you're not going to have it. But if you actually go in there with a mindset of, no, this is what I work for, this is my moment, this is my movie, then that's how that unfolds, right? And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And then you take that to the chest, learn from it, and then make another movie. And then that's when you can have your moment. But you never give up on that. Who are you to work so hard and then give up on yourself mentally like that? Like, no, like I would never, ever, ever have that mindset ever. I don't care who says whatever, all these internet trolls, like I will never let myself have that mindset. So there's no point.
It's a movie. You're telling yourself when you show up and the warm-up room is full of all these other characters, and there's some fucking good characters in the 93s. You look around that warm-up room, you say, I respect that you guys are all good the whole nine, but I'm the main character. of this movie. I'm the leading man. You guys are amazing co-characters.
Yeah.
You guys are meeting supporting cast, but this year is my year. This story being told is my story. And
What's
when
Rocky
you
without Drago?
that's right, you're my Dragos. Thank you. I need you, but don't forget who's Rocky. In every as a fan, like as a fan watching, there's nothing more entertaining when like six Rockies walk into the room and they all feel that way. And it's not
Yeah.
baloney. You talk to each of them and they 100% believe. And when I sit down and have a conversation with a guy like you who is like just said everything you said, I feel it. You get motivated, you get inspired. You're like, fuck me, man. Like it makes you inspired with other things in your day, right? You're like, I'm not doing enough, whatever it is. And then when I sit down and I have the exact same conversation with like one of the other 93s, and then another one, and then another one, you're like, they're all gonna clash at the end a couple of times over sometimes. And we are going to see like it's as a fan watching for a sport, that is the ultimate. But when it's just one guy showing up, and everyone's like, I think he's like Taylor in his prime, and it was like,
Yeah.
okay, he's the man, and we're a supporting cast, and even the supporting cast knows, all right, well, let's battle for second and let's have a good one. That's tough. That's tough. It's tougher to get behind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think fucking whoever. There's some people who are like, some people won't like someone who talks their shit or whatever. But
Oh
like,
yeah,
what
no,
are
no,
you?
no.
What are you?
I remember when when you posted me. And by the way, like I see everything, but of course, like I don't really care to respond to anything.
Good.
It's just I just actually laugh because like the sport needs trolls. The sport needs people who hate on stuff. Like that's just how it is in all leagues and stuff like that. That's how you know the sport's growing. The more haters and the more trolls and the more people just voicing their opinion, giving a shit. Like that's honestly what we need. The fact that you even give a shit to comment is great. So I'm here for it. But I'll never forget on the post when you reposted my deadlift and the meet recap, blah blah blah. It was this lady, and she was just like, she's like, man, I was really rooting for him when he was doing with all the Russ stuff, blah 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 blah. But seeing him celebrate like that makes me just take it back. And I'm like, I was like, what?
That was quick.
I was like, so now you're on my side because of some situation that had nothing to do with my celebration, but because I celebrated a moment that's mine and it's my moment, and you haven't been there and gone through what I've gone through to even make that moment, you're gonna be like, I celebrated too much, so everything I thought about you is like taken away. And I was like, that is so funny to me because like you can never truly please everyone. So that's why I'm like, I'm gonna say what I want to say. I'm gonna respect those who I respect. And if anyone who actually like cares for me, if I say something wrong, they can reach out to me and we could talk about it, blah, blah, blah. And then they choose not to, then choose not to. I can't help that. But I'm always gonna try and be respectful. I'm always gonna try and be myself. But I'm gonna be me and I'm gonna be confident. I'm gonna say what I want to say, and I'll take all the bullets that come with it. If I perform badly out of me, or if I do something wrong, or if I lose, and then I take all of that stuff that comes with it, because you have to. And trust me, it really doesn't get worse than what I've already been through. So I'm ready
Hey,
for it all.
you know what? This is true. Where you could be like, what's the worst that's going to happen, Playboy? It's happened. It's
It's
already
happened.
happened to me. Yeah.
It's already happened, and I came back from it. So let's roll. You know.
Like, think about how good you feel now, like with everything, the future is so bright. Dude, you bombed out after saying you're going to create like the big, like historical going after Jesse Norris.
Exactly.
Then right before, and I thought I love that you did that. And it's a kudos to history. Records are made to be broken. Like when the base again, like I said, when the home run record stood for 60 years, and when Sosa and McGuire were going after it, that's when the record gets brought up all over again, and that guy gets his flowers all over again. 60 years later,
Right.
it's a anyways, not to go back into that one. But then so when you bomb, people are quick to jump on you. And then like one of the most popular guys in the game jumps on you, Russ, and you're like, all right,
Yeah.
listen, after making a huge proclamation of what I'm going to do, I had the worst possible situation of bombing on squats, then got my teeth kicked in by so many haters. Then the most popular guy jumps in the high school. You can't hurt me. I came back from that, reclaimed the number one spot, am now the number 190 all over again. And now the future, I'm looks bright as shit. Who knows what's gonna like? No one even remembers all that anymore. All anyone's
Yeah.
talking about now is, can you believe what's going to happen to PA Nets? Can you believe
Yep.
what might happen to Worlds? Oh my God, can you imagine what Sheffield might look like? It's already experience gives you when the shit hits the fan again in life, it's going to hit the fan. You can remember back to being like, nah, this will pass.
Yeah.
This will pass. You know?
You just have to be strong enough in your darkest moments. You just that's where you really know if you're strong. And I'm so thankful for that because that let me know how strong I truly am.
Right.
I mean, I had 3 months to turn around from already a big meet and everything that was going on with that. I mean, I had 3 months to turn around and do better than I ever done at this body weight, right? Um, and even then, like that's hard. Like a 12 months, I mean, not 12, a 12-week turnaround, uh, having to figure things out and stuff like that. That's not easy. And it's not easy to PR on top of that with everything going on. So the fact that I did go through that and now the narrative is like, oh, what's Pitre going to do at PNS? Oh, Pitre versus Kaiko versus this is this. The fact that that's the conversation versus, me failing again and then Pitre just out of the conversation. Yeah, like, whatever anyone throws my way, bring it on. Like, I'm here for it.
And can you believe
So,
with everything we just said that you went through to reclaiming number one spot in 90 kilos, biggest total ever at 90 kilos, etc. And the celebration you had, through the relief, everything you came back from, what I just said. The whole community, not everyone, the whole community taking shots, but like so many people taking shots, like some huge names, the whole nine, everything. And you come back and hit that. That's where that lady, it's like, lady, you don't know the whole story. If you knew it, you would understand when you saw him celebrate like that, what he came back from. That's why, like, people got to learn to, like, pull back, man. You're not in these people's shoes. I say it on the podcast sometimes. When athletes feel certain ways, I give a lot of wiggle room to athletes at the top end because the pressure that people are under and the scrutiny and the piling on if you don't do good, but then the adulation you get when you do good and the celebration, the highs and lows are very extreme. And
yeah.
so let people do their thing. And if you see a guy celebrating, it probably meant a freaking lot to that guy. And
Yeah.
and and then you hear the background story, you're like, oh frig. Yeah. Yeah, oh frig is right.
Yeah.
That dude went through hell for that. Put
I had
that
my
deadlift down.
I had my clients ask me like, how did it feel? And I was like, honestly, I blacked out. I cannot remember that moment to save my life. I don't like, I look at the video and I'm like, oh, that happened. From the moment I got the deadlift and I put it down, I don't remember the next 5 minutes.
Risk
I don't, I don't
temporary
remember the
insanity.
next,
I plead temporary insanity, sir.
I,
I don't
I,
know what I said. I don't know what I
I
did. I don't
don't,
know what I posted.
yeah,
I don't know what I posted.
don't hold anything against me after those
That's
five
right.
minutes.
That's right. That's right. Dude, you were the happiest man I've seen in a long time. But the thing is, you came out to that final pull crazy hyped. Like you just knew, like, I got this in the bag.
Yeah, no, I felt it on the second pool. So background story for everyone on the day. So on the day, I'm going in the squats, and by the way, figured out the recomp thing a little bit better, but still legs a little shaky. Just
Mm.
being that light, just with my leverage and body type, legs a little shaky still. So we haven't figured out now, which I'm excited from Nats for that, but still was a little shaky on that one. So going into squats still wasn't like my best squatting that could have been. So then going into bench, I started feeling like myself again, but it was a really weird call on my opener that caused me to retake it because I couldn't hear. Like for whatever reason, I couldn't hear if there was a rack, like the rack command was called and I couldn't hear the commands. So I don't know if like my ears are ringing or something like that, but it was just a weird thing that was going on. So we took it really conservative on bench. And I'm looking at the total and I'm looking at Jamar, who's handling me, by the way, Pancake God, for anyone who doesn't know who Jamar is. I look at him and I'm like, what do I need to be number one? Like, what do I need to get my record back? And he said, you got to pull 821. And my opener at the time was 705. And
Oh
because we were going to
shit,
take it,
that's a big spread, sir.
yeah, we were going to take a conservative on deadlifts because everything else was supposed to go according to plan. But guess what? Things don't always go according to plan, right?
That's right.
So I look at him and I say, give me a second. I go to the warm-up room in that exact moment where in flight A is warming up and 485 is on the bar. And I said, hey, can I lift this real quick? Guy looked at me really weird, like, what do you, I mean, sure. So I go and I lift 485, no warm-up to it, anything like that. I just needed to see how I felt on the day. So I did it fast as shit. And I looked at Jamar. I said, we're changing my opener. I said, put 744. And from there, we're going to go 790 something. And then I'm going to hit 821. Like, this is my moment. This is my shit. Like, no one's going to take this day away from me. I'm not going to lose. And that set the tone right there. Pulled my opener fast. Did my second. When I felt the slack pull on 790, at that moment, I smiled. I smiled to myself because I said, this is light. I was like, this is fucking light. And so I went in, wedged, pushed, flew off the ground, turned to Jamar, said, load that, I said, load that shit. And then he was like, you sure? I was like, do it. I was like, it's either now or nothing. It's like, I have it in me today. Like, I know I do.
That's right.
So when I went out there to that crowd with that much confidence, it's because I had to make that happen. That's what I mean. When you are so confident in the work you put in, you know the movie you're about to create. You know the moment that's about to take place because you already prepped for this moment so many times in your head, so many times in the gym, so many hard training sessions, so many times when you wanted to quit, so many times when you wanted to give up, and you did it and you stayed through it and you worked through the pain. You know that all of that was for this moment, and you know there's no way in hell you're gonna fail. And that's what creates that. And that's why I got that
Yeah.
lift. And that's why that celebration happened. That's exactly it. And that's why we work so hard. And that's just it,
Dog,
man. That
I'm
moment was
gonna clip
everything.
this. I want you to tell me who's lady Instagram that lady, and I'm gonna fucking send this into her DMs. Okay, all right, and set her straight. No, dude, isn't it something magical when you know on that day you're like, oh wow, it is on, it is on. Just the way like from the slack pull on number two, from the slack pull on number two for you, you were like, you already knew number three was flying. And when you came out to number three, were you thinking like the day before leading into the event and the day of, how often were you thinking about like this is redemption? This is number one spot all over again. This is everyone who took shots, everyone who said this, said that. Like, how much were you thinking about these things?
It was on my mind every time I woke up that week. It was on my
Really?
mind throughout the day. Every single time I'm eating, I'm imagining that third deadlift, what the crowd is like. Now, originally, I'm not going to lie, during the week, I imagined that that third deadlift would be a little bit different as far as total wise. But,
That's
but
okay. Yes.
either way, it was just, I already thought about how big that moment was going to be. And I just thought about just sealing the deal on that third deadlift over and over and over and over. And I thought, honestly, I was going to cry. I really, well, I did cry in the back room, but I thought I was
And it
going to
doesn't count.
cry.
Doesn't count if no one caught it
Yeah,
on camera.
I thought I was going to cry on the platform. I had imagined that and envisioned that I was going to cry on the platform after that third dead. Yeah, because I just knew that was it. Like that was the official. That was everything that I needed official. I mean, it was official records. I mean, broke the deadlift record, broke the total record again, and like everything was actually official. Like the real refs that are going to be there at nationals. I still had to travel. People think I live in Carolina. I don't live in Carolina. Like I saw that going around. Like, oh, it was like his backyard. I was like, no, I had to catch a flight to South Carolina, and I had to get an Airbnb, the whole nine, and travel, et cetera, et cetera. People there, like I do have like a good community in the Carolinas, but like I mean, those still aren't like people I see on a daily basis or anything like that. So I mean, it was everything that I needed it to be for the turnaround it was. to help give me that mental edge going into this nationals, going into PA Nets next year, and then officially being a 93. So it was everything that I could have hoped for, to be honest.
So, well, first off, you could be like, people think I live in the Carolinas because I'm the type of guy who makes himself at home no matter where he is. You understand?
I can't.
It's
Hey,
how I carry
can't say
myself.
that
That's how I carry
because
myself.
can't say that because Jamar would be mad at me. I'm not gonna lie. Me and Jamar will have conversations. He'd be like, "People really love you out here," and I'm
Yeah, they
like,
do.
"I love it out there too." It's like feels like home. He's like, "Yeah, but this is my home though." Like he's like
Yeah,
this is my shit.
yeah. He's like, you. At the end of the meet and everything, he's like, I had a good time. I'm glad you're here, but I'm ready for you to go home right now. Okay, okay, you okay? I want to take back my place, but
No,
my house.
he's legit. He's legit. Just like, hey, you can go back home now. Like, you can go to Texas like right now. Like, you don't need to.
Yeah,
You don't need to
yeah.
stay any longer.
We're all good, but I know you mean in terms of experience, overcoming adversity. You can read, people can read articles, listen to podcasts, the whole nine. There's nothing like living it. There's nothing like actually going. Everybody thinks they could do all these things until they get checked.
Yeah,
And when you get checked, when you finally get hit, that's when you're gonna find out. You've been hit.
yeah,
You found out. That's good. This is very good for your development. Like here now, from here on out, you could double back and remind yourself. You could, the good thing about living in a digital age like we do, you could double back and like look at old messages, listen to old podcasts. Because as time goes, sometimes you forget how you feel. And the next time a speed bump comes and you get hurt again, you're like, this is it. This is the worst it's ever been. And I've said things like this in my life and had people close to me being like, you forget what that was a few years ago and how you felt because I remember you going through it. And they're like, you should double back and reread some of the things you wrote when you hit me up, or you should double back because no, 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 this is more of the same. You've been through this before, you'll get through it again. Everything feels like it's crazy when you're going through it. It's good to get chin checked and end up on the other side. This
yeah.
is all beautiful character development, period, in life. Um, and not many people have to do it so publicly. Right? You did it very extremely publicly. And that's good
Very.
too, to handle pressure like that. That's good too.
Yeah.
Going to this USAPL Nats though. So how does it feel? Are you looking past it? Do you have, what's the motivation in this one?
Man, it's been weird, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's been kind of weird. I kind of found my groove because I am giving that extra effort in the gym, and like my motivation is are the 93s right now, and I'm still working towards the strength that I need once I do start gaining the weight, and I want to go ahead and get a head start by being stronger at this body weight. But my goals never really change as far as until like I hit it, right? So I wanted to break Jesse Norris's record then. I just because I got chin check doesn't mean that that changed my script. I still want to break that. 914.5 is the goal for me because I just care about the drug tested one. Not really caring about like the untested and the Dilla bar one, anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I just want the 914.5. And yeah, that's pretty much it. My goal is to get my squat rolling at this body weight, have my bench rolling at this body weight, and then continuously be able to replicate what my deadlift strength is on the day at nationals in front of everyone. And if I could go into Nats and total 914.5, that's a pretty good head
Dude,
start. That's a pretty good head start going into PA Nats and gaining my 3 kilos back. Um, so that's my goal going into Nats. It's one, make history, um, and prove myself right. Not prove anyone wrong, but prove myself right, make history, and then keep going down that road of making history. Because everything that I do after Nats, if I have success, like let's say I win, anything I win after this point is going to be historic. Because everyone's going to be expecting this person to win or that person to win or blah, 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 blah. anything I do is going to be considered an upset this whole entire first year, and it's going to be history in the making. So I just want to go ahead and get a head start on that.
Dog, I got news for you. You hit 914, 915, whatever. I don't know you are going to be an underdog. I mean
Oh
that's
no, I
insane.
will. Leave it to the British. They'll they'll definitely be
Well,
like I'm an underdog.
yeah, I mean yeah, I mean they'll want to see proof in the pudding as they see as but like, you'll be 3 kilos less, but 3 kilos more. I don't put it this way. I love that the goal is to leave 90 kilos at such an incredible high. I was wondering, yeah, like where's the motivation? Because it's difficult. As a boxing fan, MMA fan, you often hear athletes in their sport be like people like they have a fight coming up and they're like, this guy's also targeting you. Like, is he next? And often athletes are like, man, I can't get my head too far ahead because then I'm looking past this and I lose motivation on this because it
Yeah.
feels diminutive to the future. And like, it's difficult, that I got to focus on this. I got to stay in the groove on this. And I was wondering for yourself, looking at USAPL Nats and you're going to have a healthy spread on everyone else in your weight class and your contemporaries that you're going to clash with are ahead. So I was wondering like what would be your motivation? And it's tough because people are already, you made that announcement after Worlds, after Kaiko, after watching Worlds and
Yeah.
essentially that post. I like the post how it was like I like it. I liked you and Marcellus in like watching and laughing, and then the picture of Lithuanian. Like I like that kind of stuff, right? And then
Yeah.
you also at the same time, no, you gave Kaiko his flowers and said, "Hats off to you, man. I heard your podcast and phenomenal backstory. You're a gladiator." I'm paraphrasing, but hats off to you.
No, no, he's a
But
warrior. No, that listen to his podcast. That was I knew that he probably went through stuff because usually people who are so silent usually are always going through a lot of things. And when I heard that, I was like, yeah, like that is why I support a lot of what he does. Is just him battling through all that adversity, not only on the platform but off the platform as well, and how he's been able to carry himself. Like that shit is inspiring. Um, yeah, like it's very inspiring. Doesn't take away from my goals and what I still want to
right.
do, but it's very inspiring. And I've always looked up to Kaiko like for a while now. So hearing that backstory just solidified me really appreciating him as a person in this sport for sure.
And you guys need each other. Not to like double back too much, but or double ahead too much either. But all you guys without each other, the movie isn't as good. I got to
Yeah,
do is for we're talking about a movie. You need a multiple time world champ to be there. You need the guys like Gavin who are all super emotional and flair and stuff like that. Like it helps. It for sure helps to bring eyeballs. But so yeah, going to USAPL Nets, I was wondering because like it feels like the community as soon as you made that announcement after Worlds and everyone at Worlds is like you just automatically what's next, oh this is going to be, and then you made your decision public and like I'm switching, I'm coming, and I like the way you did it, and it made it like you could have just announced it, but I like the pictures, I like the Lithuania picture, I like, and all of a sudden it makes like oh fuck he's coming.
yeah,
And if you're a Keiko fan or a Gavin fan, you will be like, oh man, next year's gonna be freaking it's gonna be a rumble. You know,
yeah.
um, and then when everyone else gets excited and starts looking ahead, and then you still have, but I'm still gotta be 90. I still gotta stay diet. I still gotta like what you say, skinny. You look jacked to me, Playboy, but okay, skinny. And
Hey,
it's
don't get me
tough because you're
wrong.
like,
I feel like I look jacked. I like how I look. I don't like they haven't really like shot my confidence down, but it just did let me do like a double take of like, okay, this is the second
don't let him
time I
shame
heard
you. Don't
this.
let him body
It,
shame you. Be like,
yeah. I was like,
excuse me.
first off,
Yeah, you haven't seen me shirtless. I want you to go to my IG. Okay, real quick, and you come back to me.
yeah, I was like, the shirt is big. I ordered it
That's
big on
right.
purpose. Listen, like,
That's
don't
right.
catch me
I'm a
now.
humble king. I'm a humble king right now, and I'm wearing big clothes. And when I'm trying to make you feel comfortable, okay, but I can make you question yourself by wearing a tight shorts shirt.
But
So you be careful.
I'm not gonna lie. I wake up and I look at the scale, and whenever I'm like wake up and it's like 202 or 201 point something, I'm just like, oh man. There used to be days I would wake up and be like 210, 211, and that would be nice. That would be so nice. It'll come back soon, but yeah, I was actually just talking with one of my friends, and I was also talking to Cell, Marcellus. I call him Cell, and
Okay.
I was just talking to Cell, and I was just like, I actually finally feel like I am owning my body at 90. Like I finally have it down. And it's funny because I finally have it down just to lose it all over again. Because I feel so actually, I feel actually comfortable. My body naturally will try and keep me at 202, like 203, no matter what. Before it would
Hmm.
always try to naturally keep me like 205, 206. Like say if I slipped up a little bit, then I would get to 205, 206 right away. But now, even if I slip up a little bit or whatever, like having fun or because you need that stress reliever as well. I would go and weigh myself, and then I'm still 202 or 203, no matter what. And then if I'm on everything like I usually am, I'll float around that 201 to 200 point something range. And I don't feel skinny or light. Like I actually feel heavy, muscles feel dense. Like I feel strong. Like I walk into the gym, I don't feel drained. I don't feel like I'm starving myself like I was before. Like I'm not tired all the time like I was before. I'm eating more. So I'm eating more at this lower body weight. I was like, man, just for me to
Really?
fill it out all over again. But
I mean,
it's cool.
maybe it's cool. First off, I call him Cell now too.
I,
now,
I don't
now,
know. I feel
now,
like you gotta earn it. I feel like you gotta earn
you're
the
probably
sell.
right. You're probably right. I'm probably, yeah, I can't cut the line that quickly. He'd be like, all right,
Yeah.
easy, Playboy. We're
Have
not
have
there
them
yet.
on have them on one more time, and then maybe y'all can talk about that.
That's right. And with there's a bunch of craftsmen are coming over, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Is this announced or is this
Well,
not announced or
so I'm not gonna speak for anyone
sure?
because
Okay,
I don't
fair.
know. I mean, I do know, but I don't know. Um,
Okay.
so just know there is gonna be a change. There is definitely a change coming. I'll say that, and it's more of us than people think. I'll also say that because I think people
Ooh,
think about
shit.
like a couple of main ones, but there's more. Yeah, there's more on the roster than people know, and that's going to be very exciting.
You got shooters and some of them are snipers. You don't see them,
Yeah,
but they
don't
see
see
you.
them.
They
I'm
see
I'm
you.
telling you, we got some girls and we got some other guys that they're coming. That's all I'm gonna
They're
say.
coming. So, because I haven't, I've met, like, I've had him on the podcast, but I haven't met him in real life. I've met you once. I'm going to meet more and more people as they come over from the USAPL and they come
Yeah,
to PA Nats. But it is good. All of this getting dialed in is, if nothing else, perfect timing for your cumulative, I for sure butchered that word, performance at 90 kilos. Dude, I say this because people get in my DMs are like, I hate the way you say. And then like anecdotal, I was fucking that up forever. People like my brother, I'll get like voicemails. It's not anecdotal, it's anecdotal. Please, for the love of God, stop. I'm like, I'm sorry.
you messed up whenever you get the voice message. My brother,
I,
oh
I,
holy,
I know. My
please,
brother in Christ. My brother in
yeah,
Christ. Let
my
me
brother
I'm
in
like,
Christ, please, for the love of God.
yeah, please. I'm like, all right, I'm okay. I'm sorry. Because I know I listen to podcasts. I know how annoying it is when it's like, God, it's like a siren now. I can't work around this word being mispronounced.
But
Um,
yeah, you're gonna meet
but
us. You're gonna meet us. You're gonna meet yeah, in they announced this in Reno, right? PA
that's right. No,
Nats.
yes, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, they switched it up.
It
I don't have to drive anymore. Now I gotta fly again.
well, and you know what? What I hope is things continue to jockey around, and I'm hopeful for this. We're not going to keep running into this weird because the reason why Sheffield and PA Nats and blah 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 are conflicting. Certain venues were locked in, and there's no moving of the venues, etc. And in the scheduling can't be easily adjusted. So we had like a conflicting growth spurt with some of this. Moving forward, I'm hopeful a lot of that's going to get sorted. So to your point about earlier about how like I hope if I'm fighting for a world spot, just let me go head to head with somebody and let so
Yeah.
I know it's easy. Kilos wins. Let's just make it that. So if I go first, someone else can go later, or whatever. I'm with you. If you're posting up something monstrous, okay, but other people, there's going to be some other people in different weight classes who are like, I'm flying blind here. I think we're
Yeah.
like 2 kilos apart on some of my adversaries, and I have to go first at a different competition. They go a month after me, and they just have to up me by 2 kilos now. Like, it's like, frig, man. I don't know.
Or even if,
And
or even if it is like the people who go to Sheffield or wherever, right? That still would be pretty weird to me that if I post my total and I beat the total at Sheffield, that like I get selected because it's like, well, that's not really fair. Like that's not like it's a win, but it's like like I want to like I don't know, I want to actually like be like no, like on the day I did that, like I did it in the same competition against you, yada yada yada. Like I did that. Like this is my win, and I earned my right to go to Worlds, et cetera, et cetera. So I just really hope that they figure that out because I also don't want like Kaiko to have to go to Nats and it be like he actually tries hard at Sheffield and then I get a tapered down version of Kaiko like a month later. That's also not as exciting. But I just hope they figure that out for sure. So that way I know what I'm fighting for and who I'm fighting against.
right. I mean, yeah, those are both good points. It is true. It's like, damn, man. I mean, if you have a absolutely monstrous total, it kind of silences a lot of people, but that'll help. But at the
I'll try
same
my best.
time, I know, yeah, well, there it is. Hey, I know you will. Yeah, I know you will. But I do know your point where you're kind of like, with everything you've already said about Kaiko, you're like, I kind of would like Kaiko the opportunity to go head to head with me, and I beat Kaiko head to head if that's the way it has to be. It'd be
Yeah.
lovely if you both go. Sometimes we
Yeah.
sent 293s from the. I say we. I'm not American. Look at me. I'm a chameleon, man. So the thing is, I'd like
Said we.
I'm I'm a Yankee Doodle right now, man. Um, but there has been 293s previously. It'd be amazing if you could send 293s and it's you and Kaiko and you could hit it a couple times over. Uh,
Yeah.
maybe
Well, I
that's another
mean,
opportunity as well.
possibly, but this may be the toughest year for that to happen because
Mm.
just there's so many. Like you could say that for multiple weight classes this year is going to be like then who out of those weight classes is going to be alternate? It can only be what is it? Only like one or two alternates in
Well,
total. Oh,
well,
just one.
oh yeah.
Oh,
So one weight class can be doubled up, but another weight class won't send somebody then. And then yes, you can have alternates. And look at 93s. LS McLean was an alternate twice and twice won the world championship as a 93. I mean, your weight class, right? So that's where it is. Like, if you're an alternate for anyone listening, sometimes it's your movie, and the number one guy gets injured, and you end up getting the call. Like you're in. Same thing happened with Charles Apoko. Keith
yeah,
Keith Mahoney was the number one, and then Charles Apoko went in as the alternate, as the number two, and won the world championship head to head against Gladkick. And Gladkick had beat Keith at the world championships. So going in, it was like Gladkick and the Russians were like, I beat Keith. You lost to Keith or came in. I can't remember. He was number two to Keith, anyways. You're coming in the replacement. They might have been thinking, all right, we should have this. And, Gladkick was two-time world champion. I called him Mr. Perfect. He had never missed a lift, 27 white lights, doing that at Worlds. How crazy the calls are at Worlds sometimes.
yeah,
It's insane. Him and Charles went toe to toe in squats, and he missed a squat. And I said, "It's happened. Mr. Perfect has finally missed a lift." And then Charles hit, broke the world squat record, and just did his damn thing in the 66s. I mean, he was so far ahead. Some of the things he did. He became a back-to-back world champion himself.
yeah,
So, anyways, to the point of anyone listening, you got to believe it's your movie. If you could get an alternate spot, hang tight, and you might still go to the worlds. And it's dude, I can't wait for you. If you experiencing all this, and if you end up on the world team, I'm telling you, man, it's such an amazing experience when you're there and people from all over the world are there. and you're at the venue and like, oh my
Yeah.
God, man.
I have a lot of people to meet in person finally.
I know.
That's also a really big drive. I need to meet Pana. I need to meet Emil. Those are the people that I talk to the most, like internationally, I would say. Um, yeah, I just really want to meet those two. And of course I'll meet all the other stars of the sport,
Yeah.
right? But those are the two that I truly want to like just meet and like because it's gonna be cool like having the conversations in person, kind of like hearing the accents in person and us butchering each other, trying to like understand each other in conversation. That's gonna be cool. But yeah, like I already know like personality wise, we're gonna get along pretty well. So I can't wait to just meet them in person.
It's cool to see like the different cultures and different languages and people like linking up and hanging out. And like everybody hangs out. Like even because you don't gotta like go partying necessarily. It's just literally you're stuck in the hotel. Everybody's stuck in the hotel. And people go early because you're trying to acclimatize. Like Lithuania is a good chunk away. There's gonna be
Yeah,
travel, there's gonna be time zone changes, etc. You're gonna go early to acclimatize. You chill in the hotel room, you're gonna go crazy. You're gonna go downstairs, you just chill in the lobby for a couple minutes and you're going to see swarms of all the people you've seen online. And everyone will be like, what are you doing right now? You want to go for lunch? And you just hang out with whoever, sit down and shoot the shit. And
yeah,
what are you doing tonight? I mean, I don't know. I mean, just come out. You don't got to eat a lot. I don't know if you're cutting, but you just go to hang to do something so you're not alone thinking about the competition and you soaking it up. And there's always like close little food galleries or like a mall right next door or something, and there's like food court, whatever. You walk around there, there's mobs of people all over the place. People will be hitting you up. What are you doing tonight? Let's just hang out. It's a really cool experience because it's like people from all over the world, and you see like groupings and stuff, and people you would never see ordinarily at the nationals. You'll see tons of people at nationals, but
yeah,
the world's will be a cool experience. And when I had Nick Manders on, it was kind of scary because he was talking about Taylor and he was like, listen, Taylor's probably number two. I'm not saying like he was saying he's washed, right? But he's also like, all right, let me qualify this for a second. I think he's number two behind Perk. If Perk comes over, call me crazy. I don't think Taylor makes another world team from here on out. I'm like, holy shit, dude! You're rattling me here. I can't picture Taylor Atwood, and it's like, I got news for you. There's a lot of our heroes who might not make another world team from here on out. And this is what rattles me is like, picture a world where, we were talking about Caffrey earlier,
yeah,
you know, and how Caffrey missed a year and is like, oh my God. But having this conversation, there's going to be some changing of the guard. That's rattling just to think about right now. Some of the things I think we need, talking about North Americans, like Caffrey's at North Americans right now, we
yeah,
need an emphasis on some other meets for these people. For these Americans and North Americans to, if you're not going to Worlds, you have something else. Like when some of the USAPL guys, like when Russ was on, he was saying after nationals, because he's used to going to Worlds afterwards for years. After nationals, he's like, when it was over, he's like, I didn't feel like it was over. Like I felt like he's like, there's something missing. There's a level up, like, okay, now I go on a road, like a crazy adventure to the other side of the world, like everything I just described, where I'm meeting all these people, etc., and we battle once more, like you're gonna do if you win at PA Nats. Same thing you were talking about you experiencing. And he's
yeah,
like, when there wasn't something after Nats, he's like, for a while there, it didn't quite feel the same. He's like, he's used to that now who's waiting for him, it was like Brett Gibbs from the other side of the world. Like, now we battle. Yeah, you beat those guys. Now you got to beat Brett Gibbs. He's like, shit, Brett Gibbs is waiting for me. It's a whole nother level of whatever. And for
yeah,
yourself, you'll have it's good the 93s because there's good, strong international lifters. Okay. Um, we need that for after PA Nats for these guys and girls. I think we need that. In North Americans, I was kicking it around. We have some ideas in the background, but there is some stuff that might come down the pipeline. Other things
yeah.
that
I
will.
guess
But what are your thoughts?
my thoughts are like the biggest thing when it comes to other meets outside of like worlds, because you're all the European countries, they have like the Europeans, and then there's like Commonwealths as well, right? They have that, and those are like two big meets, right? Outside of worlds that they have, that's also outside of their nationals. For us, we need to figure out what can PA do and what is the support that PA has to actually put forth some meets, and who can they collab with on some meets that actually matter, right? Because Commonwealth matters because of the competition that's there, but also you could break records at Commonwealths, right?
Right. That's right.
Right. And then you could break records at Europeans as well, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But here in the Americas, we can't run off competition alone just because that would just be like, no offense to like Canada, is just more like it would be PA Nats times two.
Mm.
And I don't think anyone really, like, I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't think anyone really wants to see just that. So it's about what meat can we get that allows the people who do compete in it to have an edge or to take away something from it other than, hey, I'm second best. You know, it needs to be framed in a way to where there's some type of prize or some type of like actual reward that comes from doing that. Because Commonwealths and Europeans, if you win Commonwealths or you win Europeans, more than likely you beat some of the people who are going to go to Worlds, right? And so that's pretty huge. And then you break records that people at Worlds are going to be looking at, because all those meets have our stars in it, and then they go to Worlds. We're looking at a meet to where our stars more than likely are not going to go to this meet, right? Because they're going to Worlds, or they're going to Sheffield, or they're going to PA, whatever. And people in America just don't compete that often, right? I like what Pana said whenever he was like, we need to compete all the time and we need to compete more
Mm.
often. And especially after this quick turnaround that I've been doing, I understand that it can be done. It's hard work, but it can be done. Getting everyone here in America to follow suit, and even get everyone in Canada to follow suit, probably gonna be hard, because you in Canada, y'all have so many mandatory meets anyways.
Yeah.
Y'all have what, 4 or 5 meets that you have to
Gosh.
do. So
Yeah.
it's like fitting in something like that within the schedule that actually means something, that's actually meaningful to the second tier of lifter. That's just going to be hard to do over here on our side, especially just with scheduling and stuff like that. So I wish best of luck. I don't know enough on the political side of the federation between everyone in the North Americans to give like an actual valid idea, but I just know that you have to work around those resistances. You have to work around those things. And if we can work around those things and find something that meets all those needs, then we got it. But that's the battle. That's what you're working against, is that.
Yeah. I mean, it's so the Commonwealth, it's the British Commonwealth is all of the countries that were part of the British Empire, at least at one point. So Canada is in it. So we at least got that. But US isn't in it, obviously, because I know you were at one point part of the British Empire, but you're like, I mean, whatever. We got our independence different ways, man. Let's just leave it
Yeah.
at that. Not,
Yeah.
those wounds are still fresh, I guess, right? But but it's it's like New Zealand, like in New Zealand, oh my gosh, like that's where Carlina actually
Yeah.
earned her way to Sheffield at the Commonwealth Championships, because New
Oh,
Zealand is obviously British
speaking
Empire.
of, my bad not to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Speaking of Carlina, that's also who I want to see. Uh, I want to meet Carlina finally, because I also talked to her. I've been talking to her like periodically, like very very sporadically. I think that's the word. I may be butchering things too. And I've been talking to her since 2020, because the work that she was
Wow.
doing as a doctor, and when she first kind of popped on the scene, I thought that was like really cool, like how she missed out on Worlds just because of the work that she was doing with COVID taking over and stuff like that, and just her whole story I thought was like really great. And so I've been watching her stuff like for a minute. So when she won, I was super excited. I was waiting to see her get her actual world championship. That's just been so long in the making. So yeah, I can't wait to meet her as well. And also, Carlene, if you're listening, hi.
Dude, Carlina is like super sweet kid. I say kid, she's like 30, but she's super sweet kid. And Like she's so nice. And yes, she's a doctor. Like this is where, we have people who are like doctors, but also world champions,
Yeah.
and again, from the other side of the world. And freaking talking about, so you're going to meet Carlina and she's super nice. She'll live up. Some people don't live up. Some people will live up. Carlina is going to live up. And talk about New Zealand. Freaking, so Evie Corrigan obviously won Sheffield and then
Yeah.
just won the world championships in the 52s. Carlina won the 76s. Tim Monagatti in the 74s just took silver. Megan Lee Smith in the 57s just took, or sorry, um, yes, Megan Lee Smith in the 52s took a bronze medal. So, dude, we have like New Zealand's got like all these world class lifters from all over the place. What the frig is going on with New Zealand, man? Some nations just rise the shit out of nowhere, and it's like,
I,
oh my god.
I mean, they're all the way. They're the only ones that are always across the world. Like they have the
Yes,
longest travel out of everyone. So they must find something to do with that with that time because they're not traveling the world on a regular basis. I'll tell you that. They're staying right where they are.
dude, it is. You talk like anyone who complains about travel, talk to someone from New Zealand, and they are not having it, man. It is like I try to do podcasts sometimes with Rory in New Zealand. 14-hour difference in
Yeah,
time zones. 14 hours. It's a different day. For me, it'll be Tuesday. And for him, I'm talking to him and it's already Wednesday, like
yeah,
midday. And I'm Tuesday night and he's Wednesday mid. It's like, it's crazy. So if you think about not only the travel, but when they land, they're 14 hours offset. So they think it's like it's noon, like you land at noon, but you're no, you should be, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. It's
yeah,
crazy, man. So your
yeah.
body's like, we're super crazy tired.
I was gonna say just the whole travel thing is. I'm sorry, but they have been my biggest inspiration whenever it comes to travel talk, and that's why when people tell to me about when you travel and I'm like, listen, I draw inspiration from other athletes, and I honestly believe we all believe the same. So no one's that different from me, in my opinion. So if they found out something of how they could get their shit together, and those are all world champions, that's where Britt Gibbs is from as well, right? Um,
He came to
and
Canada
like
and beat Russell.
like all of that, right? So if they can do it, I'm not complaining about travel. I'm gonna figure it out. I'll be prepared. I'm chilling. Like if they can do it as a team to where multiple of their people are coming over to Worlds and hitting PRs, like they're not only doing their maintenance total or just maintaining their strength, they're peaking into the competitions and meets and putting forth their best performances ever on the world stage with that travel, with the food difference, with all of those things going against them. So if they can do it, yeah, I think us Americans like we should be pretty all right.
You'll be all right. Going to Europe is going to be like nothing compared to freaking, like, again, 14-hour difference. Travel, like it's it could take like days. You land, change planes, land in a different country, change planes again, land, change planes, get to Canada, 14-hour time zone change, and then you're going against Russell Orhe in the 83s. And that
Yeah,
was Brett Gibbs. And that's Brett Gibbs. Like
that's
it's been done. The worst cases have been done. The one of the worst, first time I went to Sweden, I was competing actually, and everything was obviously like the labels and stuff were in Swedish. And I went into a store and I was looking for electrolytes because I needed like recomp, right?
yeah.
So I grabbed a bottle and I'm just like, I needed a store close by, man. I don't know where everything is. This store looked like it would have something for me. So I was waiting in line to buy this. Now I was gonna buy this, and I'm pretty sure I got what I need. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna ask this guy who's waiting because I'm waiting in line for like 5 minutes. This guy's in front of me. I'm just gonna ask him, like, my man, this is electrolytes, right? And he said, excuse me, this is electrolytes, right? And he's like, my friend, you're gonna use that to clean your pool. Like, my man almost died in my hotel room. Do you understand me? I was gonna chug the bottle. I was gonna chug the bottle, my dude.
You
I
wouldn't have
would have
made
been
it past
dead
two
in my
sips.
in my tub. And people would have been like, "Oh my, did he do? Oh, he seemed so happy yesterday. Like, what the fudge, man? I, it's crazy." So, anyways, whatever.
Hey, Google Translate with the
Yes.
scan option of scanning
Now,
the words
th-
that tell you what it is in English.
yeah,
Save your life.
this is like literally save your life. This is like 2019 ish. And that was probably out, but not crazy popular. Now I do that all the time. I get like a menu and I'm doing the Google Translate scan option. It's I remember when someone first was doing that and I like looking at the menu in the
Yeah,
original language, seeing them looking through their phone, and I see the menu, but the words change on their phone to the new language.
yeah.
And a lot of us don't have to do this ever in our day to day life. So for a lot of people, you'd be surprised how many people when they see it and they're like, "That's the craziest," or didn't even know it's an option. Because when are you ever going to have to do this in your day to day life? But it is an option. Have you seen it
Me,
done? It's crazy.
me when I go to certain Spanish restaurants.
Mm.
That here
Those
in
are the real
Texas,
restaurants, by the way.
yeah, like those the real Spanish where like everything's in Spanish. Like we have a few of those here in Texas, and it's definitely worth it. But I definitely have to use that translator, especially when I go to the bakeries and I just want like some good bread. Like definitely have to
Yeah.
use the translator option.
Oh yeah.
So I know just what's going on, what things say. I mean, I don't have to do it anymore because I'm kind of familiar with the words, but yeah, I had to do that before.
Um, dude, how much more amazing is your life going to be when you get to put on 3 kilos?
Oh, dude.
It's
I
going to be
people don't understand. Like people don't understand. Like I just want everyone to know. Like because everyone will say like IPF standard competition, blah blah blah. I want everyone to understand that all the 93s, your favorite 93s, all of them, all the ones you love, cherish, hold dear to your heart. If they had to be 90 kg, all their totals will be far lower than what it is right now. 100% would be way lower. And they would hate their life for the first 6 months because of the lack of food, just the lack of like pleasures and stuff like that. When I am able to put on weight again and just eat and just thrive and just go into the gym and not like feel everything, because being lean is cool. Don't get me wrong, being lean is cool. Seeing the abs all the time, seeing like the skin be really really tight, that's really cool. But I feel everything, every
mm,
squat, every deadlift, every bench. My joints hurt, my knees are hurting, and I know it's just because I don't have the body weight that my height wants. If I can just put on, I don't even need three. Honestly, I just need a 1.5 more, or two kilos more. If I could get 2 kilos more, and I'm talking, of course, like off season. So like me being able to weigh like 208 on top of like being a 93. Like if I'm able to weigh 208 or 207 pounds, if I'm able to do that in the off season and then maybe cut 2 or 3 pounds going into PA Nats or going into Worlds, that would be heavenly. And
mm.
I can guarantee and promise that whatever total y'all think that I have right now is going to be way bigger once I put that weight on. Because a lot of people may not remember, but 2 years ago, Virginia Pro, when I was a lightweight 93 and I did not cut going into the Virginia Pro, I weighed 206 and I totaled 895 on a 7 for 9 day. That was 2 years ago. And I can 100% tell you that I'm way stronger now than what I was 2 years ago. And let me put my body weight back on. This is going to be different, but it's the different that needs to happen because I know everyone else is going to be different. And so I can't be ready for trying to match their strengths. No, I'm trying to, beat them. So why would I be the same?
You know what I thought you were going to say? And I was like, my man's about to drop a fucking soundbite that's going to get clipped for sure. I thought you were
No.
going to say, everybody needs to understand. I'm a 93, I'm a 90 right now. And you said, and all your favorite 93s that you love and all your favorite 93s that you follow, all your favorite 93s, I promise you, I'm gonna fucking murder them when I move up the next fight. You're gonna be like, I'm gonna stomp them out. I promise you, all your heroes are gonna die in 2024. So
I
love
will
them now.
say
While I
if it was if it wasn't for the fact that I got Kaiko, Emil, and Gavin, like I'll probably say that. I'll probably say that. But I actually like those guys too much to say anything that
it's
aggressive.
well for sure. Yeah, I know. You'd be like, damn, I went a little tough in there. Those dudes would be like, really, man, you have to go that hard. You really
Gavin
have
be
to
like,
go,
Gavin be like, murder me, huh? Like
yeah,
just straight up.
murder. We're talking murder now. Okay, what is going on right now? But no, even just like eating, your day-to-day life is gonna feel different when you can throw on like just the calories themselves is energy. The calories themselves, as well as when you're a bigger human being, even a little bit under the squat, under the bench press, like those, it definitely impacts for sure.
Yeah. Because I mean, of course, I've been there before, so I understand. I truly feel the difference now as what my weight is like when I'm heavier versus what I am now, and there's a huge difference in what my joints feel like. Like if I'm heavier and have more cushion, and I just have a little bit more fat on my body, then I can absorb things a little bit better. So like squatting is such uh, a task. Like my knees don't feel like they're breaking when I squat. My bench, my elbows, like I don't feel that every single time that I, bring it down to my chest. And on deadlifts, like my feet just hurt. That's really it. It's just like this is a bunch of pressure, and I just feel my feet because my feet are just really thin. So if I could just get there's a little bit more water
Chubby
on my
feet?
body. Huh?
You're gonna get chubby feet?
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm that water, the water that's gonna get on my body once I start eating food is gonna be so clutch. Like I'm telling you, it's just like just a little bit of fat in all the right places is just night and
Ooh,
day different.
you gotta lock in a girl real quick though, man, before your feet get chubby. Before
No,
you'll
man.
be dating her, you'll be dating her, she's like, love, why don't you ever take your shoes off? You're like, that's where I hold all my chubbyness.
She gotta
You
love me
got
at the
feet.
chubby feet. No, 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 no. She has
That's
to
right.
love me.
You're
If
right.
you don't love
You're
me at
right.
chubby feet stage, then you don't get me at skinny feet stage. You don't
Dude,
get me.
and
You
there's
don't
this
get the thin feet. You don't get thin me. If you don't like the
that's right.
chubby me,
That's right. If you
you can
don't
just
like
look at
me at
the
chubby
photos.
feet stage, I don't want you.
Yeah,
I don't
she
want
can
you.
just look at the photos at the beginning and be like, hey, listen, you rock with this and you truly treasure me. This is in the future. Like I can cut back
That's
down.
right.
This is an
That's
option.
right.
But you gotta cherish me here, or else it's
Mm,
nothing
mm.
for me.
You're like,
You know?
baby, you're gonna love these Sheffield bags. You're gonna love, the whole nine. We got some adventures to go. He's coming back, that guy.
Yeah,
That guy you see in the pictures, he's coming back. But
yeah.
relax a minute.
Think about the
Relax a minute.
experiences, not the appearances. Like you gotta really think about that. Like you want to
Dude, you're a
go
good
and
salesman.
travel, you
It's
gotta
about the
get the bag.
experience, not the appearance.
Yeah,
Dude, you got some riz, man.
I
Okay.
don't know about
All
all
right.
that.
You'll be all right. I'm not worried about you at all, sir. I'm not worried about you at all. Um, so when you were thinking about going 93, what was like, or when you're thinking about switching up,
Mm.
what was like the main? Are you ever gonna? Do you think this is your new home? Like, what was the big reason to be like, I'm? Because you thought about it before. You thought about IPF before, then decided not, and now this time, this
So
is this time
good that you
final. Are
brought
you
that up.
staying?
Good that you brought that up because the reason why I didn't go over even last year is because what I saw was about to happen ended up happening because Kaiko and Gavin and Chance were all supposed to. Apparently, they ended up making the rules where they were going to do Nats, right? Remember all that? Like they showed up, everyone
Yeah.
thought that even Taylor, like all these people were supposed to be doing Nats, even though they had uh, I don't know. I forgot what the drawback was, but it's like they already had their submission to Worlds basically. Like they didn't have to go to uh, PA Nats, or did they skip it because they went to Sheffield? Yeah, they skipped it. They were able to skip it because they were going to Sheffield anyways, and Sheffield was their whole ticket. So I could have showed up at Nationals, gone against Bryce, which don't get me wrong, going against Bryce, that would have been like still cool, but that's not the matchup that I really would have wanted. And then it still would have been okay, I hit the Carpino, great, but what if them at Sheffield also hit it? Because it was just the rules of it all, and they were rolling stuff out like every single month. It was so shaky and not for sure on what the process was. I didn't want to go and compete and then get snubbed after a performance at PA Nats and still not go to Worlds, because then boom, there goes the rest of my year. I have no more meets now for a whole entire year. So I wanted to compete. So I said, forget all that, wait until they figure it out. And one, they figured it out. Things started rolling as far as like competition wise. And then the biggest push was, of course, like Russ. Once I saw he wasn't, like, I already heard the rumors and the talks and all that stuff. So I was like, well, okay, he's not staying. So then, yeah, there's really no reason for me to stay. Now it's time to actually go over. I would have been over sooner if they had basically the PA had figured out their stuff sooner and made it a little bit more organized as far as like letting the lifters know ahead of time as far as truly what the layout was and what you needed to qualify for getting to Worlds, and like how the competitions were mandatorily needed to be laid out. That would have brought me there last year, but it's all good. So now I'm here.
Yeah, like all's well that ends well, but it is. I think to an extent people forget how because how new PA is and the development that's happened.
Yeah,
These early days will be forgotten in the future, but we'll know because we lived through it. First PNS, you were at the first PNS actually. It
yeah,
was my dude, the turnaround from hey, we're a Fed to I don't know, 6, 8 months later, we have a Nats, which is essentially ended up being like a world's qualifier. It wasn't big like a US Nats would be. And the jumping of the amount of people that are going to start showing up, the amount of battles, the amount of it's just growing so quickly in organizing it all, etc.
yeah,
People forget how new PA Nats is and just trying to jump into an already laid out schedule, but like being the international scene, and then Sheffield, and then trying to organize venues, get people ready for Worlds, but shit, we're gonna overlap with Sheffield, and then it's like damn it, like it was yeah, it was tough, and it was like there was growth pains, there was
yeah.
growing pains.
So it's like, for me, it was like, why would I hop in when, like, and to make it easier on them, I get it, especially with how new they are. They already had people in the system, so it's easier to kind of like work with how they're able to get the people that they already have in the system to Worlds
Mm.
as they're trying to get their organization together. And now this year, I think they're a little bit more prepared for newcomers to come over and then make it to where, like, okay, well, this is how we truly make it competitively fair for the best lifter to actually be able to make it to the world stage versus kind of like the people that are already the good lifters that are already in the system. I just wanted to give them that time to figure that out, because I couldn't waste my time, because let's say that I would have went over to um yeah, if I would have went over to PA Nats and I went up against nobody, I would have been very upset. And then if I couldn't have competed for a whole year, I would be very upset. Like,
Mm.
so
And
it is what it is.
infrastructure wise, they didn't have a lot of other options yet. Like even in terms of getting meet directors over there, they don't have a lot of competitions yet all over the place to keep you going, to keep you. And as
Yeah.
the years go, more and more of those are going to pop up. So then, yeah, there's other options as well throughout the year, and that's growing and growing as the years go as well. And you had mentioned like, so we kind of talked about this in the DMs, but so Russ said he's coming. Is it still a pull? Is there still like an allure that because on the podcast he said he's going 83 and he's
Yeah.
not going 93. Maybe in the future he will, but you have a lot of guys at 93. Like it's not like, and obviously there's PA Nats, great showdown, Worlds, great showdown, possibly Sheffield. Like if you keep continuing up the ranks, um, is it how big of an allure is that showdown, or is it like, is it big, not big? Is it a pull towards, or what?
Not even, it's not a showdown. I don't think it's that's done. Like, that's not even, like, once he said all that, and he said that he wasn't even thinking about making a move like for the next 3 or 4 years. It's like, well, like, I don't, then if he doesn't care, then I don't care. Like, if anything, it would be like a Crawford versus Spence fight that happens to where like 5 years in the making, like it finally happens and the story unfolds there. But even then, as far as like trying to keep it going or egging it on, it's pointless. Like
Yeah.
I could care less. Or I no, hold on, I got corrected. I couldn't care less. Let me say that right. I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
It I know what you mean because if it's several years down the road, yeah, you're like, look at man, we're gonna see each other so often at different venues, and we're not gonna even competitors.
yeah,
And we may or may not be. Who the frick knows what the future hasn't has? So it's like we're gonna keep it weird, or you know what I mean? Like we had a moment, and it was kind of a rivalry that got the sport going. People got excited. All right,
yeah,
90 kilo is not like a hot stack division. It got the people looking at 90 kilo. Russ was a 90 kilo for a while. You were 90 kilo. It brought attention to what you were doing as being the number one 90 kilo. Brought attention for Russ as well to go up to 90. All right, we both got a little heat from it. Good. And if that's all it ever was, and it sounds like that might be, then it's like, all right. But I know what you mean, where it's like, if we're never actually going to do this, we may or may not ever. It could be half a decade later. It's like, it could be, how weird do we want to, how uncomfortable do you want to be for the next, 4
yeah.
years?
Because
I don't
like,
know.
well, for me, it got a little bit, more personal. So as far as it being weird, that'll probably be, that may be a forever thing as far as weirdness goes. But um, like, is this thing to where if you're not, this is the only sport to where people can talk shit or people can go up against each other in a media format as far as saying certain things in a period of time and not have to answer to it, because in our sport we can choose a different weight class, we can choose these different meets, we can actually choose not to go head to head against people. In the NBA, the NFL, and boxing, stuff like that, eventually your day is going to be like called. Because even in boxing, you're going to run out of fights because no one else wants to fight you. And then you have this one guy that does. It's like, well, you still got to keep making money. So then you're going to take the fight eventually, which is, how, Mayweather and Pacquiao finally happened, right? It's just like, okay, like ran out of fighters, like go ahead and get this finally done. And then yeah. So for him, if he believes in his heart that he's at 83, and he wants to cut down all the time and do that year in and year out, every single year for the next, 2, 3 years, then so be it. Because I'll tell you what, I don't know if I'm gonna be a 93 at what, 32, 33. Like maybe I end up gaining weight, or maybe I am a 93 forever. I don't know. Like 4 years, 5 years is such a long time. Like
Mm,
there's people. I was just thinking about the other day, like Eli Burks. I remember like people don't even know that name. I bet people don't
I
know
know.
that name. And I was thinking about him. I was thinking about Ben. I was thinking about who else?
You're a
I was
fan of
thinking.
the sport for really real.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm a fan of the sport. Like when I first entered it, I keep up with all the names that like inspired me. And I was just thinking about these guys, and I was like, man, when Eli Burrs pulled that 800 pounds, like when 800 pounds used to be like such a like crazy number to pull, um, and now like what are we? 2018 was what, 5 years ago. So now we're here 5 years removed, and you have people in the sport have no idea who that guy is. You don't see him, anything a post about him. He doesn't compete anymore. So again, it's just 5 years, 4 years is such a long time. So to keep up that rivalry when there is no head to head, I'm not gonna make promises of like, oh yeah, like I'll be ready for him when he like, no, like I don't know what life brings. Like
Right.
there's going to be new challenges. And then at that point, in my movie, my resume is gonna be so stacked that it's gonna be like, no, like, yeah, like when is he gonna come chase me or find me wherever I'm at? Like if he wants to have the showdown, cool, wherever I'm at, because I'm clearly gonna still be lifting, but I'm not gonna match him on what he wants to do and his pace and his goals. Like my resume will speak for itself, and he want to make it happen, and he'll make it happen. So
It's kind of like the tales of, for instance, like Delaney Wallace. I brought this up before, but Delaney was thinking about for a moment staying USAPL and trying to go like I have to beat Russ,
Yeah,
and he decided at one point, you know what? Maybe I go IPF and just see what happens. And then Delaney Wallace ended up having these clashes at Worlds. I get it. Russ isn't there. And Russ is casts a big shadow in the 83s. However, if you actually look at like the views, the rest of the world, the rest of the powerlifting community, like 4 to 5 times more people will watched Delaney Wallace win IPF Worlds than Russ win USAPL Nats. Like 4 to 5 times more people watched that event. And if Russ, this is half the reason why Russ came over. If Russ continued doing that, and Russ has a brand and he's eating food off that brand, you see the diminishing returns. Where like if this viewership keeps shrinking and the other viewership keeps growing, and it is, and let alone Sheffield, which was literally 10 times, 10
yeah,
times more people, 10 times, 10x more people watched Delaney trying to break Russ's record. Not even hitting Russ's record, but Russ is over here competing for national titles. 1/10 of the people watch Russ over there. And it becomes like when he got out of the way and stopped being like, stop chasing people, start chasing moments. And then
yeah,
all of a sudden, Delaney's like, I've been all over the world in all these showdowns, made all these friends, had all these moments, experienced Sheffield. He's about to experience Sheffield all over again. When I stop
yeah.
chasing people and start chasing moments, like, let me see what happens. And now, him looking back, there's no way he regrets this. You don't regret anything. He'll have this for here on out. He's already doing public speaking, talking about, winning world records or winning
Yeah.
world championships, etc. I mean,
That's
it's
the biggest thing that I really hate about the split and what it did, because it basically turned us athletes, like we have to basically turn that switch off of, hey, don't be an athlete right now, be a businessman. And what is the best for your brand, what you're doing and your experiences versus like being an athlete? Because the athlete in my heart, man, that just like that is tough. Like you have all these killers in the 83s or the 82 and a halves, like all these, like especially now, like you have so many people totaling 820, 825, 830. Like this is like the most stacked that weight class has ever been, like just here in America. And it's just like not throwing yourself in that pit of fire is just like, like, and I get, don't get me wrong, I get what Delaney did 100%, and it worked out. Like, look at all the success he has. Like, clearly that was the move. But it's like the athlete probably like is sad a little bit, like, because I know Delaney's really competitive. So I bet the athlete part is like sad just a little bit. But then all the reward from going to that side definitely covers the sadness that comes from the athlete part. But it's like, man, like to throw yourself into that like slaughterhouse is like, oh man, that would probably be just such a great feeling to come out on top against like 5 or 6 killers. Like any one of y'all can take the crown, right? Um, I don't know. Just as an athlete, it just makes me cry a little bit, because even that would have been the same for me. Like the whole, even last year, like me having to worry about maybe not being able to compete against the people I want to compete against. So I end up just sticking with the USAPL. It's like, I hate that I had to make that decision, because then it ties me from, oh, well, do I stay being an athlete, or what sets me up, business wise? Because business wise, okay, this would make sense. But right now, like, I kind of do want to be an athlete. I want to go against certain people, and I want to break certain records during this time of being an athlete. And it's just us being put in this position to have to make those calls and make those decisions on the fly when the sport is moving at such a fast pace and things change within such a limited time, because the sport's going to be so different even next year and the year after that. And the decisions that you make right now determine where you're going to be 2 years from now. And are you going to be in the right spot? Are you even going to be going against the right people? So I don't think people realize that with the split, what it did to us American athletes, and just how much it just sucks. It just sucks that we have to put on those two caps. But it is what it is. We work with it, roll with it.
it is. Yeah, you almost had to be Nostradamus to see like which way is the best way. Which way, like Russ said, he's like, it didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. What am I going to do?
Yeah,
I just make a correction. And for Delaney, he gets to have competed against Russ. And remember, he came in number 2 in USAPL before he
yeah,
left. Then he's going to get Russ again. So he'll probably, Delaney ended up choosing right because he got the best of both worlds
yeah,
then.
yeah,
All of a sudden, you know what I mean? He's like, oh, frig, did I really, he ended up being like, man, I played this as good as I possibly could have.
oh yeah,
Now
he
he's
played
got,
the proper card. Yeah,
but you never knew. You didn't know at the time. To your
yeah,
point, where it was like how would he have known Russ is coming back and what's going to happen with all like the opportunities that were going to open up? Like you just
yeah,
trust your gut. Whatever. It was tough. It was very difficult, and people still have to do are still making these kind of decisions. Like Russ now he's got a business and he's like, it's literally a make your living. So you can't
yeah.
just not think about it. And he's got employees and some people. This thing's getting big. Here's another thing. How big does this get? Because I know, like obviously, working with SPD on Sheffield. Don't say the Sheffield. I almost did it. Frick, people will jump on you for that. But for Sheffield, and this thing's getting bigger and bigger every year. This thing's year 2 is going to kick their teeth in on year 1. Year 3, though, my man, is it's we're talking. I don't want to say too much. I don't know if I'm allowed to say. I know the lead up to the Sheffield's bout that's about to happen, the Sheffield event that's about to happen, is going to be exponentially more content created than the lead up into the other Sheffield that just passed. I mean, in the other Sheffield that just passed, blew the doors off of everything else we've ever had for viewership, etc. So in terms of what this Sheffield's going to be in 2024, it's going to be monsters. In terms of the Sheffield that's going to be in 2025, the plans are freaking like huge, huge. And then on top of that, World Games has now gone classic. And that's a multi-sport event recognized by the Olympics. A lot of Olympic events come from World Games, come over to the Olympics, golf, baseball, like whatever. And then some of them go back to the Olympic World Games. But you'll see sports when they all of a sudden enter the Olympics, they came from World Games. And because they're all recognized. World Games of multi-sports, huge. Their opening ceremonies is huge. And now that's gone classic. So the future of the sport in terms of like business decisions and things like that, how do you think this thing's going to start rolling out?
Oh no, I've already I think I was on the podcast, the warm-up room, and I was talking to those guys and I said, listen, USAPL had a moment of time to where they either could have carried the ball that they were given and they had a field open to where they could have ran on pace with a formula that honestly was very, very appealing. And they could have scored a pretty easy touchdown. Maybe a little resistance, but honestly, what they were given, they could have scored like very easy. And anyone listening internationally, touchdown, I'm talking American football. I know that American football isn't like exactly everywhere, so that's what I'm giving that analogy. And they had that, but instead they're running with the ball and they chose to fumble it. And the IPF and Powerlifting America and all of them picked that ball up and ran the other way, and they kept scoring and scoring and scoring. And I think they're going to keep scoring and scoring and scoring and scoring again when it comes to us elite athletes and exposure of the sport at an elite level. The USAPL will continuously run the local level and the second tier lifters because there's just so many meets and there's just such a strong structure and foundation for those lifters already in the USAPL. Like it's like money, prize, like all that stuff. Like as far as like being like a second tier lifter, like USAPL has that down. They drop the entire ball on the elite crowd, and the future of the sport is IPF. The future of the sport is going to be the World Games. The future of the sport is going to be Sheffield. The future of the sport is going to be the viewership that comes from that. And that's where you're going to see the brightest stars are going to be on those stages. It's not going to be this thing to where people go and get a taste of that and come back. Because in order to top multiple events that are going to have stars and going to have all that exposure, The USAPL will have to completely change what they're doing structure-wise, what they already have implemented. And I just don't think that camp is really headed in that direction anytime soon. So yeah, like the future is Sheffield, the future is World Games, and it's just going to be this continuous exposure. But we need storylines. We need head-to-head matchups. We need people who are actually fighting and facing against each other. And there needs to be like an actual reason to root for people. I'm sorry, like it's 100% about who you beat. It is not about just winning. And if you want a sport to grow, you need to go against the people where it makes sense, or you need to have a story that's compelling. Like, and if you don't sell that story, and if you don't sell the head-to-head matchups, it is the sport is not going to get the exposure it's going to get. And I think that the IPF is doing a good job of that. I think SBD is doing a really great job of that. And if we can just get the athletes to stay on board with that as well, as far as giving the people the matchups that they want, I think that it will be really, really great. Like, for instance, I think, just saying this, you know, of course, like I was saying, resume wise, stuff like that, I think it'll be a pretty great thing, since Sheffield is a pretty much exhibition meet, right? I think it would be pretty cool if in 2025, if Russ were to just do 93 at that meet itself and
Good.
actually try to go toe to toe and bring that storyline just a little bit sooner and actually catch a window of, you know, again, I have to do my job. So if I win a world championship, he does his job. Both have good, like, leading up, like going into it, blah, blah, blah. Maybe he doesn't want to cut for that meet, et cetera, et cetera. That'll be pretty good, because I know he says that he doesn't care about the money, right? Because I mean, he has his own business, blah, blah, blah. I just think that storyline itself, with just how much tension there probably still would be a little bit lingering, that would be good. Again, I'm not going to bring it up anymore outside of this podcast. Like I said, like, he's not going to bring it up, that stuff's going to die. I just saying, like, from how you sell the sport, is like we had a moment to where we had Team Flex versus Team Craftsmanship. We had two people who are in the sport that really had real issues with each other. Whenever you have real issues with each other, that always sells a little bit more. And I think that may have gone a little crazy if that matchup happened. So I just hope something like that, because I was just talking to one of my friend Ramel, and Ramiz is on Instagram, does videography. He was telling me about boxing, because he's a big boxing fan. Like, he's huge into boxing and he boxes. And he was telling me how people are really getting into boxing now, not because they've been watching boxing or have a history of watching boxing, but they're saying that the fighting that's going on now, the matchups and the fights that are happening now, boxing hasn't seen this in such a long time, or it's been a while since boxing has seen these real fights happening where the best of the best are actually fighting against each other. Like, true big names are fighting against each other. He's talking to me about Tank and Ryan. He's talking to me right now about Crawford and Spence. And then there's like two other fights that are supposed to be coming up. And he was saying that, like, he's like, the reason you're hearing about boxing so much right now is because of those fights. You don't watch boxing. You don't keep up with boxing, but it's all over and you can't escape it, right? And he's like, that's because boxing is on. It's like, boxing didn't lose popularity. Boxing still has all the millions of followers. Boxing still had all the covers as it did before. Just wasn't anything compelling. There wasn't anything truly to anticipate. Like, yeah, you have your favorite fighter go against some guy, but the guy may not be as well known, or more than likely, like, this well-known fighter is going to win anyways, and you're just watching to see him. But now people are like, oh, this is the storyline. Oh, this happened. Oh, wait, like, this actually is close, or, oh, this might be an upset and people don't see this guy coming. Like these talks are happening on multiple fights and multiple occasions. And I just think that if us as powerlifters and powerlifting in general, if we could take advantage of more of those storylines and more of those things, especially with the way that media spreads, with how fast Sheffield spread on TikTok and everything like that, and you attach like those big storylines to it, man, that'll do it. That'll do it for viewership. Like I was talking about just like as far as like just multiplying things tenfold, that would do it. You will have people who even just sniffed fitness know who the best powerlifter is or know about this powerlifter just because they sniff fitness because of the storylines are just that compelling. I think that we need to harness that and lean on that a little bit more.
I'm glad you brought up that analogy. First off, I am a boxing guy, and like I in a previous life, I used to write for a boxing magazine and everything, right? Like this is dude. But so and I use those analogies all the time on the podcast. But the reason why that works so well, boxing suffered from multiple champions in this multiple world champions in the same weight class. They have four belts, which means there's four world champions in every single weight class. So for a long time, what your friend was saying, and it was true, these guys were not going head to head, but they're in the same weight class. And we didn't see the best in the world in the same weight class going head to head. Too long. Previous generations, they did. In the 90s, Oscar de la Hoya, Trinidad, they all fought each other. The
Yeah.
guys were like, who's the best? If you were big enough, the other champions wanted to go against you because the money and the viewership was too undeniable. So I'll risk my belt. But if you weren't big enough, why would I risk my belt? I could just fight these other guys, make a good living, be a world champ, and not risk my belt. So they weren't mating each other for like 10 years for a while. There was a few here and there, but not enough. To your friend's point, the best of the best, the most compelling wasn't happening. And then all of a sudden, some special started happening in boxing. Tyson Fury had a unification match against Deontay Wilder, and Tyson Fury, boom, everyone was like, oh my God, Tyson Fury's a superstar, the heavyweights. And now we have this kicking up. And Earl Spence and Bud Crawford fought and unified the welterweight title for the first time in years. And for the first time in years, Bud Crawford, a weight class below, had all four belts and was the unified champ. There's only him. He moved up, and for the first time in welterweight for years, he now is the unified welterweight champ, a weight class up as well. Two divisions, unified, only Bud. And waiting ringside, watching that showdown that was supposed to be a close flip the coin, don't know who's going to win, and Bud Crawford decimated Earl Spence. And
Yeah.
during that matchup, as he's putting a beating on Earl Spence, he looks over the rope, sees the unified champ a weight class up. Charlo, already unified, the title's a weight class up. He looks over the rope at him and says, you're next.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, everybody who watched that is like, oh, we haven't had a three weight class division unified world champion decades, probably. It's been forever. To your friend's point, when a guy does that, and it all the politics are out, and he's just the best of the best are facing each other, and the buildup during to look over and do that, and everyone watch. And now Charles ringside, and what's he going to do? He's going to take that nice, right? You think I'm afraid of you, little man? That's one weight class too many. You move up to my weight class. Like he's not back, taking a back step either. Now
Yeah.
everyone's going to leave that Saturday night and be like, did you see what Bud Crawford did? Decimated Earl Spence. Did you see him call out Charlo? And then Charlo fans are like, yeah, but he's not. He's not scared. And I'm like, all right, well, let's see what happens. To your point, that's how it's got to be done. You
Yeah.
need everybody together and clashing, the best of the best clashing, and the storylines like that. So when you finally do clash, it's like, oh man, do you know who these guys are? They've been circling the wagons for a while now. And if at some point you're right, and I'm the same as you. I don't want to beat a dead horse if it's not going to happen, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to expand the storyline either with you and Russ either, because I totally get it.
Yeah.
But to your point, even not just the Russ situation, but Sheffield in and of itself is unique. Even if we don't focus on you and Russ, however, Sheffield in and of itself, we already seen somebody in the very first Sheffield. Eddie Berglund won at 66, moved up to 74 by the time Sheffield rolled around. Now, something unique, not many people batted too many eyes because he ended up going head to head with like Taylor Atwood. And no one thought he was going to be Taylor. However, this Sheffield, something unique is going to happen. And this is what is going to continuously, hopefully, happen where we have those hyped matchups that you're saying. World Championships, Carola Gara, 163, Leah Bavois, won at 69. At the World Championships, Carola's beaten Leah. At Arnold Classic, Leah's beaten Carola. They're 1-1, but both of them, it's not over. They can't stay in that one-on-one. And now they're both reigning world champions. And when Gara won 63 kilo class world title, she broke Leah Bavois' world record at 63. So when people say, well, if Leah was there, Carola will say, excuse me, pardon me,
Yeah.
I broke her world record as well. And,
Yeah.
and maybe Leah does beat her in a head-to-head, but Carola and the Italians and all fans of Carola will be like, no, it's not, doesn't go without saying, it has to be done. So now when we look at Sheffield, why can't one of them jump a weight class? Your world title isn't out. You don't lose your world title. You keep your world title. In
Yep.
terms of qualifying for next worlds, that doesn't have to be impacted. As
Nope.
long as your nation plays ball. This is where the nations, like America, has to be like, if you change a weight class, it's okay. We're not going to use your Sheffield to qualify you. We have an opportunity here, to your point, to be like, we can have mega showdowns and you're not risking your world title. So, for example, if a Russ or he is like, hey, Russ, you don't have to risk your world title. You don't even have to fall out of line to not go to worlds again for the next year's worlds. It's just a mega showdown. If it happens, it happens, and it's just whatever. Let's have some fun. And we could milk the hell out of it. If not Russ, like anybody, we're using Russ, but it could be anybody, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If Perk comes over and Perk starts getting too close to Russ, and Russ is like, my man, are
Hmm.
people talking about you like you're Bud Crawford? Because come on up and let's see what happens, my friend. You're getting a little spicy here.
Yeah.
People will go nuts. People will go nuts.
I
And
would,
you're like, oh my
I
God,
would
can
go
you do it?
crazy.
Like,
That would be good to see.
I mean,
That
yeah,
perk. Yeah.
you could do anything. Like, it just it opens up so many fun doors.
Yeah.
And SBD would be like, well, hell yeah, because it gives us new matchups you'll never see anywhere else. You'll never see this at Worlds. You'll never see it anywhere else. You can see it here. It's like
Yeah.
one of what we have now is
Yeah.
like, do you want to see champion versus champion? Do you want to see Bud Crawford versus Charlo? Do you want to
Exactly.
see these matchups?
Imagine selling that. Oh my God. Like
Oh,
that is like that gives me
I
goosebumps.
just
Like
did
that.
Playboy.
Yeah. Like it's just that is like if you oh man, like that right there gives me goosebumps. Like that's sports. That is real sport. And because it's like it's not a matter of just like because selling and we're saying it here, I need it to happen. Like with Leah and Corolla, like I need that to actually happen, right? Versus it being like that would be cool, but then they end up being like, oh, it's not worth. Like, no, it is worth it. Like, do it. Just do it. Just use Sheffield for the competitors to compete. Like, let them compete their ass off, and just all those showdowns, like you're saying, that never ever will happen. Let it happen here. Like that is gonna be, ooh, like that's exciting. That's really exciting.
It, Leah and Corolla will be the first. Let's see it.
Yeah,
That'll be the tone setter. And I think both of these ladies, I played the name game with Corolla and I said Leah Bavois, and her reply was the one to beat. And I know Leo is definitely anticipating a showdown, wants a showdown with Corolla. Because Leah's alpha as well. And she don't want it to be one-on-one. She don't want no questions. They both want this. They're both reigning world champions, world record breakers.
yeah,
This happens at Sheffield, this will set the tone for super fights, if you will. It's not
yeah,
a fight. I'm using the term super fight because that's what they use when a champion from a lower weight class challenges a champion from an upper weight class in boxing and MMA. This would be our first super fight in powerlifting is those two. Let's see them do it. Let's see them
uh,
do it. And my friend, if you if you do if you move to 93, let's just say for argument's sake, you do all the things, all like you blow it out the water. You hit 915 as a 90. So let's say as a 93, just anyone listening, don't get insulted if you're another 93, but play with me for a second here. You win, you do all these things, and your total starts floating up into the high 900s, like 920 as a 93, 925, 939, whatever.
yeah,
The 105s. What if you're like, hey, fellas, I don't have to wait for Russ to come up. I could just moonlight as a 105. I'm an underdog. I'm the David versus Goliath.
Yeah.
But I'll rumble with you fellas at Sheffield if you want. If you want a little something something. You have a bad. Maybe you're the favorite, but you have a bad day. Oh, I'll never let you forget about it. Like it
Yeah.
would be whatever. Let's see what happens. I don't know. The big thing is money wise. Um, it depends. Look at, I mean, Russ could possibly win Sheffield if he stays 83. But what about the next year when he already bumps that record down the line? Then all of a sudden be like, Russ, you can't win anymore because the way Sheffield's set, you break the record. You have to break it's by the percentage you break your record. Well, I mean, you're the victim of your own success if you smash your world record like crazy to win Sheffield the first time around. Because then you have to win it by this. They can't just break the record. You have to win it by a crazy percentage the next year.
Yeah.
Victim of your own success, my friend. Then maybe it might be like, well, what are we going to do here? I got some ideas. Who knows? Who the frick knows? I mean, we're just having fun fantasy matchmaking, but I think you're right. I think we'll see more of this as time goes by. And maybe even
Yeah.
Sheffield incentivizes, maybe even SBD incentivizes such matchups.
Yeah. I was gonna say like even if there was like there was something that SBD could even push that really basically meaning like, hey, if you do this, it's really a win-win no matter what. Like we got you. Whatever that we got you is, SBD, y'all figure that out. But just having a we got you in there and just letting the matchup just do its thing. Because I mean, it'll be worth it. Whatever SBD has to do, if they get that matchup like between different people, like it'll be worth it. Like the money will
Yeah.
be back.
Yeah. It's, and again, just like we were saying, PA, it's early days and things are progressing. Sheffield, we only had one. As things progress, they're probably going to keep the same formula that you have to break world records, but they'll start getting more and more creative on how to like entice people, how to bring people, they'll give people the matchups they want. I mean, this is SPD's, they're killing it right now. They're
Yeah,
killing it right
no.
now. So,
Like imagine I was even talking about this like with USAPL as far as like what we need to do for like our Nats. It's like not forget an interview like right after like the awards or whatever. I really think that like if a part of the live stream, maybe even like before awards or whatever, like either way they figure it out. As soon as like the competition is done, already have it to where not only the winner, like what a PA is already like doing, it's like not only the winner, but the losers as well, right? Or the losers of the matchups or whatever, both get press conferences right away. Camera pans. Like they got 10 minutes for the questions or whatever. Catch them in their rawest emotion. Catch them in their rawest moment. Catch them right there where they can't filter their words or they can't filter what they're trying
yeah,
to say and try to be all like, super official or whatever. Like catch them right there in that moment of either their celebration or their demise. Either way, of course, if they're up for it, right? But either way, if you can catch that right there and ask the right questions and get those clips, like, oh, man, that'd be it.
you're so flipping right. I think it's you know what? Frick. I'm surprised I didn't think of this before because I'm an MMA boxing fan and you interview the losers, unless they got knocked out. You interview the losers, and some of it is like just as inspiring, just as like it doesn't have to be Debbie Downer style. It might be
No,
like you see them raw crying, but if they're crying, it just means you see how much it means to them, and
like
that is so
imagine,
captivating.
imagine getting a Gavin right after Worlds, and he just got his third squat taken from him again. One of the performances that he's definitely not happy with, the chip that he has on his shoulder, and with the words that he can say in that moment, imagine what that would have done. Imagine what that clip of him and
Emotion, the
his
raw
conquest
emotion.
of what's gonna come next year, like his
Yeah,
determination of being better next year, like catching
yeah,
that would have been crazy.
yeah. You're right. You know what? Because I seen some of it. I saw Taylor right after, after I'm done commenting, I'll run into the warm up room. I got 10-minute break. I talk to Gavin. I talk to Taylor. I talk to these people right afterwards. I get that raw emotion. I've spoken about some of the emotion in the back room at times because some people are super high, some people are super low. Sports is seeing both of them.
Yeah.
But in the moment, not a week later on the podcast, in the moment, let me see if Jordan missed the shot. You know, we see people miss the shot, drop to their knees and hold. And it's like, but you know what? In that moment, when you see someone miss the shot, you remember it, your idol falls on his shield, on his sword, so to speak, and it hurts. And then the year later, when they come back, that digital asset gets used again, and you show that interview when they win, and it's like it means more because you got it. You got the loss.
I love the clip that they had going on. Do you watch basketball, NBA?
I do not super a lot, but I do a little bit,
So in the playoffs, when the Chicago Bulls were going against the Boston Celtics, last year they went to 7 games. The Bulls lost that 7th game. And Jimmy Butler basically was like, we know what we have to do. Next year, we're going to be in the same position at the same point, and we're going to actually get it done. Of course, paraphrasing, he said stuff that was way more impactful than that. But
sure.
Came around next year, the Chicago Bulls and the Boston Celtics are in the Eastern Conference Finals. It goes all 7 games. And the Bulls are in the exact same position against the exact same team. And in the exact same moment, Jimmy Butler is either going to deliver on that promise or he's going to fold. And everyone's replaying the clip. And guess what? They win. And then all they do is put the matchup of what he promised a year ago, and then him holding the trophy and him celebrating and him saying, I told y'all a year ago, y'all didn't want to listen. We were voted to be the last seed, or we voted saying that we weren't going to make it and all this stuff or whatever. Now look, kiss my trophy. Like
100%. 100%. And some people will be like, when he first said it, they're like, he's full of shit, whatever. Good. When the comments are like, they're not coming back, like, or whatever they're going to say, just interaction. Let them interact from your raw emotion. Let them be like, I don't like what he said or whatever. Good. That's fine. But they have a response. They saw raw emotion. Now they're buying in. Your fans who support you are like, come back, Brendan.
Not only that, the haters are invested because they want to see, can they hate more? Or are they going to shut up?
What's he going to say now? What's he going to say now? Like, they're going to be like exactly that. So, for instance, if we just use you as an example, when you bomb, they'll be like, oh, he said about Justin Norris. What's he going to say now? I want to see what he's going to say. So you have to face the music and you're saying whatever the shit you would have said. And your haters are all over you. Your supporters are now more entrenched on your side because they're like, man, fuck that. You guys are hating on him because he's down. And they're more on your side. So now it's more in. And then when you come back and you had the meet you just had with the 887.5, and then all of a sudden, then people see and all your supporters like, we're the haters now. Who's saying what now? And the comments are all talking like that. And it becomes, we all get more invested. To your point about stories, to your point about, and then when you show up against whoever you're going to show down against, the people who hate you, the people who love you are even more with you because we felt the good and the bad in the whole storyline, or you'll even sway people. You'll be like, I don't know, I was indifferent. I seen him go down. People jumped on him. Then I seen him rally back and I heard both. And I'm like, he won me over. That happens.
People live vicariously through their favorite athletes sometimes, or just through an athlete. Because maybe in that raw emotion, especially when they're down, they may say something that just like, and they literally see the emotion and they feel their words. And they're like, oh, I can relate to that. Oh, this reminds me of when I had lost something a year ago and I didn't know I was going to make it back. And the way he said that, I use those same exact words. And, oh, I felt that before. Okay, I'm rooting for this guy because I felt that, right? It's a lot different than tuning into a podcast and then you hear the interview and the questions are shaped up and there's no real emotion. But when you feel that and you're living there, basically you feel like you're living there with them in that moment, even though you're watching through a screen, you're with them forever. People felt Kobe. People felt every single time that he spoke, win, loss, whatever, people felt his words. And that's why they became such hardcore Kobe fans, because then he had the actions and the work ethic that backed it up. And you saw what he went through in order to deliver the words that he gave, right? Yeah, we need that. We need that for sure.
Yeah, someone who wins all the time is unrelatable. Show me somebody who wanted it all, gave their life to it for 3, 4 months, has thought about it for a year, did everything right and missed, and is heartbroken about it. And see that story and hear from them and tell me that it's not going to be endearing. And tell me people watching can't relate on some level, have been hurt like that, and see that on them in that moment. Beautiful storytelling. It's why you watch movies. It's why we watch documentaries. And even though in that moment it's like, well, yeah, but the story's not over. That's the point. They have another season. There's another go around. They go through nationals again. They go to worlds again. It's all coming around, and you're gonna feel different. And my dude, I can't believe none of us thought about this. Thank God you just brought all this up. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
You're 100% in terms of telling stories moving forward. What would SBD do with some of those clips? If they had some of those clips from lifters
Yeah.
in the moment, not afterwards, not a month later, not a week later, but right in the moment. Yeah, that's some digital assets you could use in your hype videos, and ooh wee, everyone will talk. But well, it'll happen now. Like it'll happen now because
Yeah.
I know myself. I'm going to reach out to people I know on different parties and be like, listen to me. I had a good conversation with Brandon. And this was me and my man. After 2 hours, we started spitballing ideas, and I think we got something. We got a hot one.
I can't wait to see it. That's going to be great. I already know.
What other stuff? Is there other stuff you think you would change?
Um, as
I mean,
far as far as like in the as far as like in the sport, or just like things like a part of these competitions that I think would be pretty beneficial as far as like really making sure that we retain and even really gain viewership. Um,
I
is
do
that
like, I do like the ideas you're having right now. First off, the
mm,
showdown versus showdown between champions. I think a push on that would be nice. Clash of Titans style like that. I do love the post. I do agree. I do like the. How do you feel about how the structure is? Do you like the Nationals, then Worlds, then Sheffield? Many more than that, is it too many, or do you think the people who didn't make Worlds can do some, like, have another circuit as well? So it's not quite the Sheffield route, but there's
I don't
another
know. That's
circuit.
kind of that's where the politics part is weird, right? Because all the different countries, our nationals are so different, right?
Hmm,
So it's like, yeah, it may be Worlds, Sheffield Nationals for one country, but it may be Nationals and immediately Worlds, and then long time for Sheffield for another. And like, I think what did
yeah,
Jessica Bittner have to do Nationals like what 2 weeks out from
yeah.
Worlds or something? Like that's so like structure wise, as far as like the schedule, we're all so different. Um, I think that Worlds, like I don't know, Worlds is the main competition, and I know there's a lot of tradition with Worlds, right? Which is why Sheffield is just a whole different experience and a whole different thing. I would like to see Worlds just be a little bit more like I wanted to feel like it is a championship that people are really gunning after. And like you can see all the emotion that comes with Worlds outside of the at the end and the flag ceremony and the anthems and stuff like that. Like outside of that, like I think that watching it wise, if there was something, because I'm trying not to step over toes as far as like things that the IPF just likes as far as like tradition, because I know tradition is very important to them. Um, I just can say as a viewer, because I watch every Worlds, when I turn it on and I don't see any backstories or don't see anything about my competitors or don't really know these people, then all of a sudden, like y'all talk about them, but then I just see a flat screen of looks like a track race or something, like or like you're playing a
Hmm.
video game and you see the player stats, and like that's not that viewership friendly to me. Just seeing stats of a person and then seeing the numbers go up as the meet goes on. Like that doesn't really connect me to that person. There's not enough connection at Worlds. It's, hey, these people are lifting. It's very quiet. You may get a pan to the crowd every once in a while. You have calls that happen and no one understands what's going on. Because even sometimes y'all as commentators are confused this past Worlds on some of the calls, right? So that was really
Right.
weird. And then just for them to go away. Then I love the commercial with Pana and just I love that with Pana and Tiff as far as them explaining the squad and explaining bench and explaining deadlift. That was pretty cool. But I want to see the lifters that are actually competing. Like during the commercial break, let me see Natalie Richards talk about this is her first
Mm.
world. And oh wow, like the experience to get here was blah 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 blah. Like if I'm watching that in between, I may not even know who Natalie Richards was because I was rooting for Joy, right? And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that about Natalie. That's pretty cool. All right, well, now I kind of don't care if Joy or Natalie wins, like, because that's pretty cool. And that's what happens as you're watching other sports is you get to know the athletes as the competition is going on, or you get to know the teams as the competition is going on, and that may change someone who only heard about the person who was like more known going into this matchup. That can change that regular standby watcher like me watching boxing. I didn't know anything about Bud Crawford at all. And then I'm just watching a fight to watch a fight. And then people start telling me all this information about him. And they start showing and telling like the story. And you start seeing all his interviews and all the things like leading up to the fight night or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize all that. Oh, I'm a Bud Crawford fan just right
Mm.
there in that moment. And Worlds is missing that. Worlds is missing that the person who sat down to watch their niece or watch their daughter or watch their family member compete at Worlds, Worlds is missing getting them connected to all the other lifters through their stories right there live at the biggest stage for the biggest competition for all the records to actually be broken, right? Officially, when they're going head to head against someone and it's not world records up for free grabs if you're just strong on the day, right? That is where you need that face talking about their backstory to that viewer. So that way they could be fans of people that they don't even know at all in real life. You're a fan of someone over there in France, and you're never going to go to France ever.
You're
So,
spitting right now, first off. Holy shit. But you're right. If you tune in, like I know Eurosport did two athletes, Leah Babwa and Jessica Bittner. They did what you did for, but that's only in Europe, that Eurosport that people saw it. But if
yeah.
they did this for every class, if they just said, all right, who's the showdown
Yeah.
for the 57s? Like we got Natalie, we got Jad, we got like Joy Namani moved up to 63s, vacated the 57th throne. What like let's if you just did like give me 5 minutes on them. Even if they're like, we don't have a lot of time. Like I know Joe Rogan would do a lead in sometimes. If you don't have enough time to do all the digital assets that SPD is doing for Sheffield, let's say the IPF's like too many classes, too much. Even if
Yeah.
you just had somebody like Joe Rogan, like if I said 2 minutes before and gave like with some highlight clips and just voiced over some highlight clips. Here is so and so, Natalie Richards coming out of, and we all know Natalie Cool. We're from North America. There's people all over Europe who had no idea. It's their first world appearance. They had no idea. And I'm like, this is
Exactly.
what makes her special. This is what the hype is on this young lady. However, Jad Jacobs coming out of France, and she's got something to say about that. And then all of a sudden, like, well, she does. I'm like, yeah, she does. She's the reigning world record holder. And all of a sudden, it becomes like, okay, those are the two I got to watch, I guess. But you're right. Just give me 2 minutes of that, plunk it in, and now people are just tuning in for whoever they're watching for, whoever else is in the two lineups. They're like, holy shit, I didn't know the background story of the people on top. Well,
Yeah.
here we go. That would be it. That would be huge. And yeah, we do it to your point. We do it as commentators as it's going, but to have a little video ahead of time to show them a little done up, something. Doesn't have to be crazy big. No one's going to sit there for a half hour to watch a preview show if they don't know the people yet. Tight, but hits hard and get some main storylines. Who
Yep.
is this? Who is that? And why are they clashing? It hasn't been decided who's the best in the world, as we have two people who say they are. And both of them have a good claim. Now we're about to find out who's right. Now we lead into the live. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's it. That's the more that you could get people connected, the more things grow. The more that people feel like they're a part of your life, the more that they're going to keep rooting and more they're going to keep getting invested into the sport that you're doing. Because all they need is some type of connection that makes them feel as if they can relate to you. And if they can relate to you and they're already watching you and you perform well or you don't perform well, but you're close, or like they saw you like get there and it was tough, and then you took
yeah,
the L, but you took the L well. It's like that's it. That's all they need. They need that
yeah.
connection. But there's no connection, and you're just a face on a screen. Then it's like, well, I do hope she does well, but okay, like,
Yeah.
I don't really know.
And if she doesn't do well on camera, and then you see her, you saw the hype before, you saw the hype video before, you saw how close it was.
Yeah,
She took an L, and now the camera's on her. She's crying, and
yeah,
it's tough. And she's like, I just feel terrible. I have all these people back home, and it's she's fighting back tears, like for everyone back home, like this isn't over. And like you feel all that, and you're like, oh, it isn't over. You're like, it's true. I think these things will come. I
yeah.
think we're growing in that direct. If you look at where we were just a few years ago and you look at where we are now, because I know you've seen the other worlds and stuff,
Oh
it
yeah.
is moving. It is moving.
Oh,
Some of
it's
these things are
moving.
happening.
No, it's moving for sure. I was just saying the things that I really hope that we keep doing, and keep improving on. But I mean, watching any of these competitions back in 2017 was
Dog.
snooze fest all the way. No way. Like so we're leaps and bounds like beyond what we were. We just got to keep going though. We do. We have to. This is our moment. Like you go into every single gym, commercial or not, and people are powerlifting. People know. I was talking to my friend who is just in fitness. Like he's not a part of any sport or anything like that. We're just catching up. Oh, high school buddy. And yeah, we're talking about how like, and he's like, man, everyone wants to power lift. It's like, what is it about powerlifting? And I was just like, it's the thing, man. And he was like, yeah, like people know like who you are. And I'm just like, like to
Crazy is
them,
that
that's
for
so
you?
weird. Huh?
How crazy is that for you?
It's a little weird. It's a little weird. It was funny. I was in Austin and I was handling one of my lifters at a meet. And I go to this restaurant called Terry Black's. And I'm in the restaurant eating and I'm getting my stuff to go back to the venue so that way I can eat there in between the lifts. And this kid goes, "You Pitre?" I'm like, this isn't I'm like what? And he wasn't even at the meet. He was just there with his friends. He was just there in Austin. Um, and I was like,
Ooh,
yeah, dude, like da da da. I was like, can I get a picture? And I was like, that's strange to me. Like that's really strange. I was in Bath and Body Works at the mall here locally, and I was coming out, I was getting some lotion, some scents, for the place. And there's this high school kid, and he sees me. He's like, "You're Petrie. Like that's crazy. Like you shop at this mall?" And I'm like, that's crazy that you think it's crazy that I shop at this mall and I know like I live here locally in Houston. Like that's crazy that you don't understand that I'm just a regular like because like it's not a big deal. But to these high school kids or to these like kids that are just younger, it is like powerlifting is that thing right now. Just how bodybuilders were that thing back then. When you would see a Ronnie, like when you would see like C-Bomb and all this stuff or whatever, like we are turning into that. Like we're on the way because now it looks like if you just win a world championship or you are on that level as far as like with that viewership, all those people are getting to that 80K, 100,000 followers just based on that alone. Like Kaiko doesn't post that much. He's not really, I would
no.
say, like an actual influencer, but his wins on those stages with that viewership is getting him to that 100K. And basically, it's like if you are at the top and you're elite, people care about this sport enough so you don't have to do anything crazy as an influencer anymore. Now you can be an athlete that actually influences people. And that is what I
Mm.
want the sport to get to. Not have to be an influencer full time, but you be an athlete full time, that your impact is so influential that people follow you because of what you do, not because of what you're
Mm.
trying to do.
Fuck, man, that was. You got some, first off, you got some fire, but that's true. Rating for the longest time, it was you want people to follow you, you want some pop online, some traction. You got to try to have a personality. You got to be an
Yeah.
online personality doing content specifically that's going to get traction online. But we're starting to see with like I mentioned this before on the podcast, but other podcasts that are not powerlifting podcasts that I listen to have referenced Sheffield and have
Yeah.
because it was so big. And if you're a world champion, they'll reference because like Eurosports, 8 million people watching the world championships across Europe. And then so that also helps drive people towards the YouTube. So then the reach is bigger. And then all of a sudden, some guys like Kaiko, and Kaiko ain't trying to put on any fronts at all. He's 100% authentic. He's
Yep.
just, he'll post if he wants to post and he won't if he doesn't. And he can go a week without it, or he might post every day that week, but it's just whatever. And yeah, real quick, all of a sudden, he's popping up around 100,000. And when he posts, he'll have like 5, 6,000 likes.
Yeah.
And it's just a post. Here's a picture of me. But people like to your
Here,
point, he doesn't
here's a
need to
deadlift.
post something that pops.
I was looking at his deadlift post that he made earlier this week. It's the deadlift video already posted from when Worlds happened almost 2 months ago now, and 6,000, 7,000 likes right away. And he's
Yeah.
just like, "Yep, here's my same deadlift that I did. I just really like this
Yeah.
moment."
It is what it is, kid. Let me, yeah. It's because it's off, like you said, it's off the strength of being on major platforms. So many people watched and are watching now that,
Yeah.
and isn't it nice to be like, Kaiko doesn't have to say, what can I say that pops? Who do I have to go after? What do I have to do? He could just be an athlete. What's the niche? What's popping? What's whatever? He could just be like, you know what? I'm just going to be an athlete. I'm just going to train. I'm gonna win titles. I'm going to show up at major events and whatever. And hopefully that's good enough. And it is now.
Yeah.
That is a cool thing where people can be like, that's all you got to do. Just be you and be your authentic self. Because for a little while there, it was like you got to bring something. You got to cultivate a. There's still people doing it. Maybe people won't have to after a while.
Yeah. I was like, there's people doing it, but I do think that they want to though, instead of they have to. I think we're
That's
slowly
true.
are transitioning into, if you want to be an influencer and then go into those different avenues and stuff like that to get that market share or whatever, like you can if that's what you want to do. But we are definitely shifting into, hey, guess what? You don't have to. Just be the best. Just be the
Yeah.
very best. And guess what? Oh, be the very best and do it on the biggest stage, and people will flock and people will definitely be riding with you. You can, from that point on, make your own brand, release your own things, sell your own stuff just from being an athlete, work your own deals with people just because of the athlete that you are. And I think that in 3 or 4 years, like powerlifting is going to be somewhere special. Like I know it is. Like it's only up, and we're already just showing great trajectory. Everyone who's an elite level athlete, everyone who's number one in the world is going to have the big following. Everyone who's number one in the world is going to be living off of just being an athlete in 3 or 4
Mm.
years, 100%. You won't have to be a coach. You won't have to be, working your 9 to 5. You won't, like, in 3 or 4 years, if you are number one and stay number one, you will be all right.
I think I could foresee, especially with the way things are moving and some of the stuff that I could be privy to in the back about like ideas and stuff that are moving as well. There's absolute what's happening right now is for sure going to be the basement of what's going to be happening in the future in terms of the platforms being bigger, 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 and more eyeballs. 100% that's true. I'm telling you right now, 100% that's true. And like, when World Games is going to, before the IPF went raw, I was around and it's just equipped. Once IPF went raw classic, boom goes the dynamite explosion. When World Games goes Raw Classic, it's going to be huge. And the SPD ideas is going to be big. And then I know for facts some stuff that the IPF is doing. They're working with Eurosport, but other things are being worked on. And I can't go into a bunch of details and stuff. But
Right.
I actually like
Sworn to secrecy.
have I actually have not trying to made announcements on the podcast and been like, "Hey, my dude, what are you doing?" I'm like, ah. But but I can tell you, there's a lot of stuff expansion that is going to happen in the next couple of years like that, and I think you're 100% right. I think everyone who wins, you're going to have like 100,000 followers at min, and guys who have won several times in a row, girls who won several times in a row, 300 to 400,000,
Yeah.
and then whatever sponsorship deals are going to come in from that for sure. And then the money meets just get bigger and bigger and bigger. I know that for a fact as well. And other corporations and companies are going to start throwing money around. It's a good time to get in. How old are you?
I'm 27, about to be 28.
Dude, you're young too, huh? Entering your prime at the right time.
Yeah.
I had Eric Helms on, and he talked about powerlifters enter their prime historically. It's getting younger, but 28 to 35. Now, this could get younger, skew younger, but you're entering your prime at a perfect time to capitalize.
And I'm
And
get to gain weight in my prime.
yeah, yeah. Things have lined up well, man. And then the pathways are all beautiful, and there's a lot of opportunity out there. Where do you see yourself at? Like, you think in 5 years' time?
In 5 years' time, I see myself having a well-stacked resume in the 93s. I see myself having a wife, kids. I would like at least one kid by I'm 35. Like I'll at least have one kid by that time.
Can I
And
say something?
then
You're extremely open in your stories. You are extremely open, and
oh,
it's an enduring quality, my friend. And you let people know about your beliefs, you what you want in life, and you actually get a sense of who you are. And I think it's an enduring quality. And you're the same way on the podcast. So it's consistent. Like you're an easy guy to talk to. Like we've already crushed 2.5 hours and it's like 11 o'clock at night over here. But
crazy.
yeah.
Um, but I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I get it from I don't know. Like I think that more people should be just with like the real things, right? Like the things that you truly want, like saying things that are cool or trying to just focus on like the buzz stuff. It's like, no, like I'm a human, like I want a wife. Like I do want kids. Like I see myself like in a house. Like those are actual goals. Like of course the sport and me being this, like all that's gonna be on my table as well. But when you ask me that question, if I only focus on that, I mean that's literally like the snacks on the plate. That's not the full course meal. Like the full course meal is what keeps you whole. So like I can't be the champion that I want to be if my life isn't right. You know what I'm saying? Like if
Mm,
I'm not accomplishing those life goals, hitting those life PRs, right? We talked about that with Kaiko earlier. If you're not hitting those life PRs, the PRs in the gym, the PRs on the platform are going to be diminishing. You're not going to keep getting that return on your investment because you're going to be missing something every single time you go to the gym. I think that people get it twisted when they see someone that's single or they see someone that's like, all the memes about being depressed and like that's your best state or blah blah you kill yourself in the gym, da da da. But we don't talk about enough on how many champions have the household that supports that continuous win. You look at what Tom Brady used to have. You look at what Steph Curry has. You look at LeBron. Like you look at all these figures, and they didn't get their best years whenever they didn't have that strong foundation. They got their best years when they had the household, when they had strong morals, when they had like a strong infrastructure within their family system, whenever they had other things to care about that made them give even more shits when they were in the gym because they're fighting for everything they're trying to keep and maintain. That's what all this is about. Like that's why I'm so excited that we get to transition into being athletes. Because if I could just focus on being an athlete and then that supports my family and that supports what I have going on at home, you know how much these numbers are about to go up? You know how
mm,
consistent I'm about to be? Like, do you know how much of a threat I am to everyone who's trying to take a spot that I do feel like is mine? Don't let that happen.
mm.
So I'm very open with all that because I want people to focus on that. I want people to focus on getting better and doing better in life because bragging about being low or bragging about having all this adversity is only cool if you have the goal to beat it. It's only cool if you have the plan to make sure you get past the adversity. It's like it's cool if you know how to take adversity well, but what are you gonna do to like make your life a little bit easier, you know? And not too many people focus on that. They focus on all the cool stuff. They focus on flashing stuff in your face, or they focus on just the negativity. And it's like, nah, like there's more to life. There is. The negativity is there. It's what breeds you, is what makes you tough. But if toughness only prepares you to have peace during wartime, you know, like that is what it's for. It's not for to always be at war. It's there so that way you can have peace, you know? So
that's extremely well said. It's not the sexy story, is it? To be like, and it doesn't. People think having all those things you said, family, wife, what support, makes you soft, but it doesn't always make you soft. It isn't a weakness to be like for instance, your boy Penna, him and his fiance, they literally have each other's back. They work together at SBD France. They work together at Silent Worker, but they have each other's back to a crazy extent, man. When they take on a project like the Silent Worker meet, it's them two, like Leah, all of them have each other's back, but let's focus on that relationship. They are like, when Penn is training, she has him. And as she's knee deep in the French Federation making moves, he's got her. And when they pull together, they build each other up. And Penna can do what he could do on the platform as a world champion because he is a significant other that has him through thick and thin. And he's the same for her. And her strength and independence. And my man, talk about Anissa, who's Penna's fiance, gets shit done, my friend. You should see what she does in the French Federation, SBD France, and Silent Worker. She is the one who gets things done. Penn will come on here and be like, her discipline and structure. It's like when she's on the job task, and you're like, we're good. She's like the matriarch, right? She's like the mother of it. And,
yeah,
and that's what makes Penna strong enough to do his thing because she has his back and vice versa. And you see them together, dog, you don't want to go against Penna when he's got Anissa. And if Penna loses Anissa, like I'm not saying like, oh my God, I'm just saying it wouldn't be the sexy story. It's
no,
tough. He's winning multiple world titles with Anissa because
yeah,
it doesn't have to, to your point, we're kind of wrapped up in the sad song, right? The sad love song
yeah,
and those sad love songs hit, but it doesn't have to be a sad love song to be a beautiful story or to have it all in terms of that doesn't make you weak.
yeah.
I agree, man. And
That
it
makes you
is
strong.
refreshing for you to come on the podcast and say that, to be like, it's all good, man. Like, you also don't want to attract it too much. Like, don't lean into it too much. Don't glorify it too much. You're gonna end up living it. You're gonna end up like just
Yeah,
like I appreciate your view.
yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, don't. That's why I wanted to say that. Don't lean into it. Don't don't embrace that era. Like, no, like understand that that's where you're at right now. Sure, use whatever fuel you can in the moment, but just always remember what you're working towards.
Mm,
Always remember where your true strength comes from and tap into that because whatever you're dealing with, if you're leaning into the negative and you're leaning into just isolation and you think that's your best form, let me tell you something. If you do get a taste, and more than likely all of us most likely get a taste of just having a team, even if it's just one other person, but just having a team, that support elevates you to a whole new high. So that's why by the time I'm 35, I hope to have all that because yeah, I will be a completely different athlete in the best ways.
hmm Dude, what a freaking conversation we had this time around, huh?
Right? It's a lot better than the last time.
Dude, you know what? The last one was fire too, though. It just depends on what's going on.
Yeah,
It depends
true,
on what's
true.
going on in life. What's
I
going on in
like
life.
this one better.
Well, yeah,
I
that's,
I
that's
a
true.
little
You're like,
biased. I like this one way better.
well, that's that's true. It's like a famous coach was like, Just win and it cures everything, huh? That just
That's
you
right.
win and these interviews are a lot better. It's a lot easier. No worries. Um, and to your point also, I remember at Khabib, I think there was a guy who said a coach, an athlete was constantly doing tons of interviews to promote the next match, and it's a big fight. And he was complaining to Khabib. Khabib's not the guy you complain to, by the way. And
Yeah.
Khabib goes, "No problem. Lose your fight. Lose your next fight. Nobody will ask you questions.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
keep losing. Don't worry. You'll go home. No one will ask you questions. No one will bother you ever again. You know, when you look at it like a bother, it's like, no, everything you talked about earlier is how we're getting rising, rising, rising. And everybody going out of the comfort zone. You're not big on speaking, or you just took an L and you don't want a microphone in your face, or all of that. This is how we're going to grow.
Yeah.
And this is how we're all going to get bigger is by like accepting that when you're an athlete. I think we're now, again, you were around back in 2017. You didn't have to worry about any of this. Now, all you guys have to think about all of this. You're out there. And for anyone who's like, I don't want to deal with all that, no problem. No
No problem.
problem.
Just
Take your L's.
stop getting
Just
stronger.
yeah, start losing. No one will care. No one will come to you. No problem at all. Do small meets. Find a smaller fed. You just want to get strong. You're not worried about all this. You can compete anywhere. Don't worry about that, and no one will give a shit. Right?
Not at
But
all. Don't
yeah,
even post. Why post?
don't even
Don't even,
post.
yeah, don't even
Yeah,
post. Just do your thing, lift weights. No one will give a shit what you do.
that's right.
No
Hit
one will
PRs
give.
in the gym, right? But that we all know. I think people just want their cake to eat it too.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. It's getting now.
Um,
We're moving on this. I got to have you back. These conversations are amazing. It,
yeah.
it's an easy convo, my friend. We talk in the DMs all the time too. But yeah, man, let's do it after USAPL Nats, or let's do it whenever. I
Yeah.
mean, we
We
got
could do it
plenty of time.
after. Yeah, we could do it after NAS. We could do it before PA Nats. We can. I
Yeah,
mean, schedule's
let's.
pretty open.
Here's another thing. We don't just have to talk. We could talk about whatever the hell we want, like we are now.
Yeah.
You know, Euros rolls by and there'll be 93s. There'll be other people. It doesn't even have to be people in your weight class, man. Once the ball starts rolling, you start having people on just to talk.
Yeah. And
And
I watch
things
it
are going,
all.
oh, go fine. Let's do that. Appreciate you, by the way, your support. And I got you the same, fam. I support you the same. But yeah, sometimes the conversations when people come on and we're just talking. Sometimes it's the best stuff, man. A lot of this we were just talking. And you
Yeah.
start getting into the good nitty gritties of just life stuff,
Yeah.
life talk.
Yeah. It
But
was good, man.
yeah, we'll keep in touch, my friend. Good luck at USAPL Nats hitting that Jesse Norris dog. It would be lovely if before you leave 90, you take that Jesse Norris record.
Yeah.
That would be the perfect send off.
I
And it
really
would be
hope that next time that we talk, that we could just talk about how that record stood for so long and now it's gone.
let's
That
tell that story, huh?
I want that to be how I'm embraced into the next podcast is that whole era of man, no one has touched this total for I mean, what is it going on? By the way, what are we on year
Years, man.
eight?
Like 2015, 14,
Yeah. Year eight? Year eight,
year
year
eight.
nine?
That's forever in powerlifting. That never
Yeah,
happens in powerlifting.
yeah. So
Dude, yeah, let's talk about that when you come on. And we'll give obviously the groundwork to who Jesse Norris was for who anyone
yeah.
who missed and just
I'll give him all the flowers, even though I know he's long away from the sport and stuff like that. I know he doesn't care and whatever. Like I still know the impact that he had on me, regardless, you know. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna give him his flowers. When and if I do it, but it's definitely one of those things to where I don't care about saying when because when I call this shot and it goes in, everyone's gonna applaud me. And if I call this shot and it doesn't go in, everyone already have the shit that they wanted to say anyways, and I'm
right.
ready for it.
That's right.
I've heard it
You've already
before.
dealt with this. and you've and you know that in the end it all washes out.
Yeah,
You know, you winning cures everything. It all washes out. People bring this up. Well, you never got the Jesse Norris. Like anyone will do that in 5 years. When you do all these things that you want to do, if they're going to bring up, like no one's going to. It is what it is. But it'll be, yeah, call your shots, man. Step up to the plate, be Babe Ruth, call the shot and swing for that. Because if you connect, woo wee, is that a hell of a connection, man?
yeah.
That's a hell of a connection. Yeah, we'll chat, my friend. Listen, good luck with everything. Keep in touch. Let me know how things are going, and good luck with training. And we'll definitely we'll have you back on Lickety Split. And for everybody listening, please, oh, by the way, sorry, before I let you go, is there any sponsors, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
I want to give a shout out to the man up above, God, Lord Jesus Christ, just overall being able to make me the person that I am, just showing me just a lot of things. Sponsor wise, I want to shout out White Toe. They actually like really have helped me out a lot as a sponsor. Code Bless there. Shout out to Junk Athletics. Shout out to um, I think that's it for right now. Yeah. Shout out to Junk Athletics, Code Bless. And then also shout out, of course, I can't go on podcast without mentioning him. Shout out to Cell, because again, I can I can honestly say that without Marcellus, like me as a person, me as a lifter, dude, like my I don't know if you understand, like my total, I not only got such a significant increase on my total while being under him, but I caught up and surpassed what the current 93s were doing in a 2 year span. Like to where people actually again give a shit about what I do, right? So forever thankful for that man. Shout out to him. And that's it, man. That's it. I'm blessed.
Enough said. Enough. You're blessed. That's the perfect way to end the podcast, man. All right, my friends, and anyone listening, please do subscribe and give us high ratings as per usual. Until next time, six pack Lapadat, six up, and we are out.